Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And I especially want to thank UC Riverside for the university's hospitality and hosting the Select Committee and for working so closely and so well with my team to make today's hearing a success, which I know it's going to be. This is the fourth hearing of and I guess I should say, my name is Mark Berman. And I'm the assembly member from the 24th Assembly District, which is a little further up in Northern California. So I flew down this morning. And this is the fourth hearing of the Assembly Select Committee on the Master Plan for Higher Education. This hearing is being recorded and will be available for viewing online on the Select Committee webpage, which can be found on my Assembly website under the California Master Plan tab. In 1960, California developed a visionary plan for the future of higher education known as the Master Plan. However, much has changed since 1960. Population growth, increased student diversity, a change in leading industries and their need for talent, as well as the field of education itself. Representing Silicon Valley, I see how quickly technology is advancing along with the rise of new industries. Both have altered student needs and boosted demand for higher education. We need our higher education system to respond to a host of issues never previously envisioned. My goal for this Select Committee is to hold hearings throughout the state, and we have held hearings throughout the state, and conduct a thorough legislative review to ensure that California has a master plan and a higher education system for today and for the future. We need to keep the state's promise to our students of providing an accessible, affordable, high-quality higher education. The Select Committee is the first step in a multi-year endeavor to update the master plan. I'm coming in with an open mind and do not have any preconceived notions or solutions, and I encourage my colleagues to do the same. I view the first 2 years of the Select Committee as being the information gathering phase where we hear from stakeholders and collect feedback, which is what we'll be doing today. The Select Committee held its first hearing last year on August 31st in Sacramento, where we heard an overview and status of higher education from the Legislative Analyst's Office, as well as from the leaders of California's higher education institutions, the community colleges, the CSU system, the UC system, and the Association of Nonprofit Private Institutions. The second hearing, held on November 1st of last year at San Jose State University, focused on California's workforce needs. At this hearing, we heard from academics as well as the business community about the workforce skills gap that we have in California and that we'll be facing over the next decade. The third hearing, held on March 1st of this year at Fresno City College, focused on the needs of students. We heard powerful testimonies from students discussing the total cost of attendance, basic needs such as food, access to mental health services, and housing, as well as equity in student success. We also heard from the Institute for College Access and Success, the Campaign for College Opportunity, the Central Valley Higher Education Consortium, and from representatives from the UC, CSU, and the community colleges responsible for meeting the needs of students. In addition to today's hearing, our fifth hearing and last hearing will be later on this year to examine the cost and funding issues in our higher education, in our public higher education in California, including financial aid. After the conclusion of the hearings, the Select Committee will issue a report, likely at the end of this year, summarizing the hearings as well as recommending the next steps, such as what issues need to be focused on in more depth. Today builds off of our previous student hearing. We heard from students about their needs, and now we'll have the opportunity to hear from faculty and staff about what they need in order to support our students. Today's hearing will consist of the following 4 panels. The first panel will discuss professional development and academic initiatives. The second panel will discuss the needs of California faculty and lecturers, providing a union perspective. The third panel will discuss the needs of student services staff. And the fourth panel will discuss the needs of staff, also providing a union perspective. There will also be an opportunity for public comment at the end of the hearing, and we have a sign-up sheet for folks who would like to speak, and the sign-up sheet is upstairs at the registration table with Elizabeth Schmidt from my office. The Select Committee has a membership appointed on a bipartisan basis, and we're really fortunate to be joined by my friend and your Assembly member, Jose Medina, the chair of the Assembly Committee on Higher Education. And later on, we'll be joined by Dr. Weber, a professor who taught at San Diego State University. Both of their strong backgrounds and expertise in higher education will be invaluable to today's hearings. They've also been invaluable to me as we've gone through the process, and will be invaluable over the coming years as we have the more difficult conversations. And with that, I would like to offer Mr. Medina the opportunity to make any opening remarks, and want to thank you for welcoming us to your district.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. I'm not sure if this mic. There we go. Well, good morning, and thank you very much to my colleague, Assemblymember Berman. It took not too much arm twisting to get him to come here to UC Riverside, and by the day and the weather outside, I think it was a good choice.
I might move down.
It's a great place to raise a family, and I'm proud to be a UCR alum. And I want to welcome all here this morning to the beautiful campus of UC Riverside, where I graduated in 1974 when we were a little bit smaller campus. But I see a lot of friends in the audience, a lot of folks that I go back with a long time as a student here at UCR. So welcome. To the students that are here, the students who I see in Sacramento, students who drove from Riverside to our hearing at Fresno City College. Glad to have you back. As the chair of higher education, I know the importance of the work that Assemblyman Berman is doing as chair of this select committee on the master plan. I've been the chair for about 4 years, and I see that the document, the master plan that was written in 1960, as Assemblymember Berman said, needs updating because, as he said, much has changed. And without a very strategic goal plan, we flounder. And the different segments push against each other. And that may be good. That may be good. You know, innovation is good. But I think it's, for the state, it would be better to have a consistent plan. And I also would note the lack of an overarching entity that we used to have years ago, as we had the post-secondary commission, which we no longer have. I will also want to note that on May 7th, the staff of UC will be going on strike. AFSCME and support staff will be on strike. And I will be at UC Davis Medical School joining them on that day. I will have staff here at UC Riverside to be joining them as well. So at the outset, I will, and I know we're being taped, I will ask President Napolitano to act quickly. When I first met with her, I think about 5 years ago, as she came on as president of UC, she asked me, what is the most important thing? What is the thing that I could do to help your job in Sacramento? And I will repeat what I told her 5 years ago, and that is that it is important for students to have staff at all levels that are, not having to worry about their jobs, not having to worry about their pay. They are the first people that students meet, and a lot of times the last people that they meet during the day. So we hope for a quick resolution of that. I know that we're going to hear about the needs of staff and professors here in this panel. As this campus has grown so quickly, I know that space has been an issue, and that students, we hear from the students, students who came to Sacramento this week, said that they're sitting in the same chair that I'm sat in 1970s, or worse than that, that there are no chairs and that they're forced to sit on the floor. So I look forward to hearing more about the facility needs. And with that said, I would make another plug on the importance of fully funding UC and CSU this year. I want to recognize the elected officials that are here this morning. Frank Reyes, college trustee at San Bernardino Community College, and husband to our colleague, Eloise Reyes, Assemblywoman from San Bernardino. Also with us is the president of the Riverside Unified School Board, Patricia Locke-Dobson. Welcome, and I look forward to a good discussion this morning.
Thank you so much, Chair Medina. And with that, let's kick off our first panel. This panel is going to be on professional development and academic initiatives. And if our panelists will come up, we have Professor Julie Bruno, President of the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges. Hi, Julie. Good morning. We have Professor Christine Miller, Chair of the Academic Senate of the California State University System. Good morning. We have Professor Shane White, Chair of the University of California Academic Senate. Thanks for joining us. And we have Dr. Sarah Klotz, Associate Director for Leadership and Institutional Transformation at the Center for Urban Education, Rossier School of Education, University of Southern California, and as a graduate of the law school at SC, fight on. And why don't we start off with Julie? And for folks, if the light on the top of the mic is red, it's not on. Perfect.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Member Medina. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I serve as the president of the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges, the organization entrusted by California law to be the voice of faculty in academic and professional policy matters. We represent all 58,000 full and part-time faculty in the California Community College system. I will focus my comments today on the professional development faculty need to support our students as they reach for their academic and career goals. Faculty need access to professional development for three very specific reasons: to maintain currency in their disciplines, to develop and implement strategies for effective teaching and learning, and to fulfill their roles and responsibilities in college governance and service. When the legislature signed into law the Reform Bill for Community Colleges, AB 1725, it moved our system away from its K-12 roots to a greater consistency with other segments of higher education like CSU and UC. One effect of those changes was the elimination of the community college credential, which was something like what we have today for K-12. Essentially, AB 1725 focused our hiring on competency in a discipline. Additional training and pedagogy would be left to professional development. At the time, the legislature discussed requiring a certain percentage of community college funding to be spent on professional development for all staff, similar to what corporations spend on training for their workers, about 5%. That approach was rejected in favor of a distinct categorical line item for professional development, which unfortunately was eliminated in the early 2000s. Much of the professional development currently provided by the state is designed to train faculty on implementing state directive initiatives such as the Student Success and Support Program. Unfortunately, there is no consistent support for faculty to maintain currency in their area of expertise or to improve in pedagogy. Of course, all colleges support professional development in concept, but few provide the resources necessary for all faculty to attend events. As a result, faculty, and particularly part-time faculty, are frequently left to bear the cost of professional development activities within their disciplines. Teaching is a full-time job, but when we add on the requirement for college service responsibilities, office hours, and other job services, fitting professional development into already tight schedules becomes difficult at best. Compounded with the additional cost and a lack of sufficient college support, such as providing substitute teachers, it is quite challenging for full-time faculty to attend and almost impossible for part-time faculty to participate. We pride ourselves on providing high-quality instruction, low-cost access to over 2 million students annually, and in the process create miracles for our students. However, we fail to prioritize the most basic aspect of teaching and learning, which is knowledge currency for our teachers, otherwise known as professional development. Although professional development on specific initiatives may be valuable for our institutions, it is insufficient for what our faculty need, and by extension for our students. The state can ensure the health and vitality of higher education by investing in our most important resource, the individuals working at our colleges. One action that would not require additional funding would be to designate a percentage of our base funding be allocated to professional development. Another action that does require new funding, would be to fund the professional development categorical. Providing resources for the growth and development of faculty will improve every aspect of our colleges and ensure that we are ready to meet the needs of our students. I'd like to turn our attention now to the issue of faculty diversity. The Academic Senate has long been in support of increasing the diversity of faculty to reflect the diversity of our student population. Doing so is critical to improving the educational experience of all of our students. In support of this goal, the statewide EEO and Diversity Advisory Committee developed a handbook on best practices for promoting diversity in the hiring process. Subsequently, the Academic Senate and the Chancellor's Office provided professional development workshops on implementing those best practices. Workshops were well attended and resulted in significant changes at most of our colleges. These changes were put into practice when colleges hired full-time faculty using a one-time allocation of $62.3 million a couple of years ago, which resulted in significant increase in underrepresented minorities in first-time full-time hires. However, we will never achieve the results we desire if we continue to rely on an intermittent approach when we hire a good number of faculty one year, but in other years, even when the state budget is strong, we rely on our part-time faculty and perhaps replace the retirements that we have. We need a sustained effort and the resources necessary to make real progress. AB 1725 set a goal of 75% of credit instruction taught by full-time faculty. Currently, our system hovers around an average of 55%. This low percentage of full-time faculty has some very real consequences for our students and our colleges. Hiring full-time faculty every year would allow us to make progress on the 75% goal, improve the diversity of the academy, and provide the critical support our students need from faculty of all backgrounds to achieve their educational goals. And when we do hire part-time faculty, we need to honor them as professionals by ensuring that they have the support necessary to teach our diverse body of students. Support for any faculty member should include office space to meet with students, adequate compensation to teach and support students so that we don't have this idea of freeway flyers, access to health benefits and professional development opportunities. Importantly, we need to recruit our own students to come back and teach at our colleges. This means that there must be a clear path from the community colleges to the CSU and UC, as well as mentoring and paid internship opportunities. A critical component in that pathway is some assurance that a teaching position or assistance in obtaining a position is available at the end of the path. Taken together, these three efforts, dedicated funding to hire full-time faculty, parity for part-time faculty, and a pathway to teaching in the community colleges, will ultimately provide a sustainable strategy for improving the diversity of our faculty to the benefit of our students and our colleges. Teaching is an interpersonal endeavor. Fundamental to its success is the connection between faculty and students. Faculty are reminded daily of the power of this connection in our learning spaces, both formal and informal, and we are deeply cognizant of the necessity of sustained interaction between faculty and students as the most meaningful factor that contributes to student success. Supporting professional development for all faculty while improving the diversity and number of full-time faculty at our colleges will ensure a vibrant and engaging college community where students will enjoy a rich academic life while pursuing their educational goals. I thank you for the opportunity to provide a perspective, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you very much, Professor Bruno. And Professor Miller.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today talking about the role of faculty development in the master plan. You've all seen this sign from the London Metro, Mind the Gap. When it advances, you'll see it. Oh, my clicker person stepped away. There we go. You've seen that sign before. It's a meme, but it's also a way for me to develop a theme in my remarks. I'm going to talk about the gaps to mind in California higher education, gaps in skills, achievement, completion, funding. Unfortunately, I had to edit this testimony to omit discussions of workforce and tenure density, but maybe we can discuss them during Q&A. The first gap I'm going to discuss relates to student basic skills and how faculty development efforts address these gaps. Skills gaps have to do with the preparation students bring with them to college or whether they're college ready. The CSU is addressing skills gaps by pursuing developmental education initiatives as part of Graduation Initiative 2025. Courses formerly known as remedial are being transitioned into credit-bearing experiences. Converting these courses has required a great deal of faculty development in the form of course redesign using approaches like supplemental instruction and stretch models. Webinars have helped faculty to make these changes. If you go to the Graduation Initiative website, you'll see this screen, and you can see the topics covered in the webinars in the drop-down menu. Notice the word archive in the title. Even if faculty can't participate real time in these webinars, they can watch or rewatch later. And if you explore those categories, you can find the number of meetings and the number of hours. Just this year, 32 webinars have been offered with 105 hours of faculty development content. In sum, there's a great deal of faculty development related to closing skills gaps and helping students to succeed. So CSU faculty are minding the gap here. The next gap has to do with graduation rates for historically underserved populations, such as students of color. So I'd like to highlight how faculty development is helping close the achievement gap. As an example, faculty develop what are called high-impact practices, or HIPs. HIPs are things like study abroad, service learning, internships, learning communities, and the link between HIPs and achievement gaps can be seen in examples like CSU Northridge, who report that Latino students are 10% more likely than their peers to earn a bachelor's degree if they do just one HIP, and if they do more than one, the effect is cumulative. But there's a big caveat here. Quality matters, and faculty development matters because that's how you get the quality. There was a study published in the Journal of Higher Education which said just offering and labeling an activity as a HIP doesn't guarantee students will benefit from it. What is effective is supporting faculty development to make them high-quality experiences, and then they can really move the needle on the achievement gap. So again, we're minding the gap on student achievement by devoting resources to helping faculty develop high-quality HIPs. We're also paying close attention to completion gaps. What we want to see is that when a student enters the university, they persist at whatever pace works for them. We'd rather not see them stop out, and we certainly don't want to see them drop out. So we look for ways that faculty can help persistence rates, which ultimately closes completion gaps. One key reason why students might not stick with their education is cost, including the cost of textbooks. So there are faculty development opportunities offered through academic technology initiatives, and I'll run through some of them very quickly. The Academic Technology Services Division is devoted, among other things, to supporting professional development, as you can see in the red block box on the slide. ATS offers training and consulting services, online tools, conferences, and so on. You can see here a whole suite of resources that are available and descriptions for each one. One of the signature resources for faculty offered by the Chancellor's Office is the CSU's Affordable Learning Solutions, or AL $ program. It offers free or low-cost digital teaching resources that are curated so that the highest levels of quality are maintained. Just look at the amount of money the program has saved students. Since it started in 2010, the CSU estimates that the total student savings on textbooks throughout the CSU has been over $230 million. One key venue for advancing these affordability efforts is through a portal called Cool for Ed. Notice the top of this image. It has the logos for all three segments of public higher education. Cool for Ed is truly an intersegmental effort. The academic senates have coordinated for several years on this project. It's part of AB 798, which allocated $3 million to support adoption of open educational resources, or OER. The total number of students that have been impacted is almost 34,000. Almost 1,000 course sections have adopted OER, and close to $4.5 million was saved just in one semester. So I want you to know that all three segment senates are actively involved in reducing textbook costs for students by involving our faculty in ways to keep college affordable so students can persist and complete their degree. At this point, I have to edit my remarks, so I'd ask you to skip slides 16 through 22 on the workforce and tenure density gaps, and I'll pick up with slide 23, which is 2 from the end. As you can imagine, everything I've talked about today costs money, and that leads me to the last gap I'm going to talk about. There's a gap between the amount of state funding we get and the amount of money we need to operate. All of the initiatives I've talked about aren't free, and you get what you pay for. As you know, the governor's proposed budget barely covers 1/3 of our need and doesn't even cover our most basic mandatory costs. It also doesn't fund the graduation initiative, which is the linchpin of so much of what I've talked about today. We've built up a lot of momentum with the graduation initiative. Without full funding, that momentum will be stopped in its tracks and will go backward, courtesy of significant cuts for every campus. This would be at a time when state reserves are huge and the rainy day fund is full. It defies logic. It's also not in the best interest of the state of California, and that's where the master plan comes in. The master plan is a flexible blueprint for public higher education. It's premised on a moral imperative that the state should educate its citizenry. The responsibility of each segment within the master plan is to fulfill the public trust in accordance with their mission. The responsibility of the state, in turn, is to provide the resources that the segments need to operate within the master plan. So, for our part, we are minding the gaps in skills, achievement, completion, workforce needs, and tenure density. But all we can do is advocate when it comes to the funding gap. We need funding to close all these gaps, we need faculty development to close all these gaps, and we need all of you in the legislature to mind the gaps with us.
Thank you, Professor Miller. And I meant to preface today's entire hearing by saying every one of these panels could be a 2-hour conversation, and I wish they were. Unfortunately, we're trying to fit 4 panels into one hearing, but it's really valuable for us to start the dialogue and develop those relationships with all the panelists so that we can continue this conversation. So thank you so much for jamming a lot of very important information into a short presentation. But know that this is really just the start. But we really appreciate all that you're doing to participate today. I know it's not the most ideal circumstances. Professor White, please.
Thank you. Thank you all for your leadership in higher education. The faculty of the state's differentiated research university that awards higher academic and professional degrees, and it does so in a grand partnership with the other segments. And it does so to serve the most diverse student body in its history. At the UC, faculty development practices related to diversity, transfer, student support, pedagogy, and admission are not things mandated externally to the faculty. They are things better that are birthed organically from the faculty to serve the people and the students. What do we need? Well, we are committed to the UC's public mission. We are heavily invested. We do have professional development opportunities. I'm going to summarize some of them. I think we could do better to develop a system-wide, transparent clearinghouse that would help to better share the resources to help increase and diversify representation. We have access to professional development opportunities, but our far bigger challenge is one more basic one, that of institutional resources. I'm going to summarize a few representative examples of initiatives that we currently have. We have about 23,000 faculty of various flavors. Unlike our peers, we have a higher proportion of tenure-track faculty, ladder-rank faculty, and a much higher proportion of our courses are taught by ladder-rank tenure-track faculty. We are guided by a single academic personnel manual, and this defines the relationship between the faculty member and the university. It does that as a career management tool for the individual, linking their long-term, career-long development contribution directly to the university's mission. UC uniquely employs rigorous career-long post-tenure faculty review. UC faculty are held to high standards in teaching and research. The Academic Senate at the University of California determines academic policy. Admission, enrollment, retention, and graduation rates for first-gen, underrepresented, and transfer students are extremely high and continue to steadily rise, despite Prop 209. These efforts are foundational to improving the pipeline to diversify the professoriate. UC's high graduation rates means higher returns on enrollment investments. 9 students out of every 10 will earn a degree. We are proud of our unparalleled success in advancing social mobility. Back in 2006, the Academic Senate recommended a diversity statement to the Board of Regents, who subsequently adopted it. More recently, the Academic Senate initiated revision of the Academic Personnel Manual to read, "Contributions in all levels of faculty achievement that promote equal opportunity and diversity should be given due recognition in the academic personnel process, in the merit review process, and the promotion process, that should be evaluated and credited in the same way as other faculty achievements." Diversity statements are now sought of all applicants to faculty positions. The President's Postdoctoral Fellowship Program is key to supporting diversification of the UC faculty. It has been very successful. It's been emulated elsewhere, nationwide and worldwide. but it's way too small. Last year, over 800 applicants for just 24 slots. Normal attrition and enlightened renewal is insufficient to move the needle on diversifying the faculty fast enough. We need to do more. In my opinion, greatly enlarging the President's Postdoctoral Fellow Program would really make a big difference. We've got to do that. The Board of Admissions and Relations with Schools, we call it BORS, is an academic Senate committee. It regulates the policies and practices of admission to the UC. One current example of BORS engagement is the work to implement the brand new transfer guarantee of admission to the UC system. That's built upon the 21 transfer pathways initiated by the faculty to incentivize and reward good academic preparation. We are absolutely determined to fulfill our master plan transfer obligations. The STED program at Davis, Strength Through Equity and Diversity, uses trained faculty members to provide information and advice about achieving excellence, equity, and diversity in faculty recruitment. All campuses have similar programs, and training by any participant in a faculty recruitment committee or faculty search committee is a requirement to serve in that way. In pedagogy, we have the Innovative Learning Technology Initiative, or ILTI. It's a system-wide effort supporting faculty to harness emergent technologies, online and hybrid models, to assist UC students by helping them access high-demand courses, satisfy degree requirements, and graduate on time. It's provided hard and soft infrastructure to campuses. It's provided a system-wide cross-campus enrollment system, searchable database so students can find the courses they need, and it's funded the development of several hundred courses around the system. But of course, every campus has its own campus-grown efforts that work in sync with ILTI. Remediation. Generally, at UC, we do not offer remedial courses. Instead, we do two things, more important, I think, and better. One is we try to ensure that our students have excellent preparation coming in. An example would be working with our partners to create and update the ATG curriculum. Another one would be the entry-level writing requirement, ELWR. So we try to make sure that students are well prepared to compete successfully when they arrive. If they're not, instead of saying stop and holding them up for remediation, we do something else. We do have college-level intensive courses in the related areas that they will take for credit and progress. So that is our alternative approach to remediation. UC faculty don't just drive our own professional development, but we generate more than 20% of the faculty of our own UC and CSU systems. I have another 30 or so examples in a longer written handout. What can we do? All the low-hanging fruit have already been picked. There's not much that we can do that won't require more funding. Our real problem is institutional resources, faculty to student ratio. It's steadily worsened over the last decades. We used to be where our peers were 2 decades ago. We're not anymore. We've been left far behind. This slide directly connects the worsening of our faculty to student ratio with our diminution in state funding. These two things are directly related, inescapable. This slide shows a decrease in core funds from the state over the last 30 years. This slide shows a real 31% decrease in funds available per student in this millennium. This has all been slipping the wrong way. We have faculty engagement in governance and in development. Faculty actively participate. It's part of our expectations. It's necessary for our advancement. We support students in the ways that we develop our faculty. We work together with our segments, CSU and CCC. The master plan has been very effective in allowing each segment to be effectively and distinctively successful. We owe much to our partnership with CCC and CSU systems. The master plan continues to serve well the students of California. But the state's funding for the University of California has fallen short by many metrics. Notably, funding per student and in student-to-faculty ratio. Professional development and student support are constrained by a steadily worsening student-to-faculty ratio, a metric for broad academic, teaching, research, and service quality. It's not just about who's in the classroom, it's all of those things. Reversing this trend must be a key priority for the state. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor White. And Dr. Klotz.
Thank you. I just want to introduce myself briefly. So not only am I a researcher and someone who works on policy at the Center for Urban Education, but I was a teacher for 10 years. And so I taught both in the UC system as a graduate instructor for 6 years at UC Davis. And then I moved to Butte College, which is in the North State in Butte County, where I taught both transfer level and basic skills English courses for 3 years. So all of my comments about professional development, I hope we'll be able to bring those three pieces together. What we know from research, what we say about policy, and also what the practice of being a faculty member in California is really like. So it's a great pleasure to be speaking with the Select Committee today. When I work with colleges in California, I often tell the story of Clark Kerr, who's one of the key architects of the master plan. And I'm going to be actually a little bit of a killjoy about the master plan right now, because that's kind of my role as a researcher and a scholar. So he was thinking back on developing the master plan. He wrote an article in 1978, 18 years after the master plan was written. This is what he says. He considers, in retrospect, the vast expansion of the community colleges to be the first line of defense for the University of California as an institution of international academic renown. What does he mean by this? When I think about the persistent opportunity gaps in our state's higher education system, I always think about that idea of the first line of defense. It means that the master plan was designed to block the vast majority of Californians from entry into the highest social goods provided by higher education. In the words of Edwards Deming, every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. And today, those results have racial implications. The vast majority of California's African American, Latinx, Native American, and Pacific Islander students matriculate in California community colleges. These students are subject to disproportionate remediation, and they complete degrees, certificates, and transfer goals at lower rates than their white and Asian peers. At the Center for Urban Education, our research shows that these equity gaps are a problem of practice, not a problem of the abilities or the potential of these students. So how do we improve practice? I'm here today to talk about what our center is doing in the area of professional development to ensure that our higher education systems are serving minoritized racial student groups equitably. Faculty are subject area experts. Our professional identities derive from many years of enculturation into our academic disciplines. Despite expertise that we gain as chemists, sociologists, historians, we are rarely trained in the key competencies that will allow us to serve students in equitable ways. The most important takeaway from my remarks is that subject area expertise is insufficient to address the challenges that we face in higher education today. As faculty, we need to become institutional empowerment agents for students of color. This means learning to teach in culturally sustaining ways, to build high levels of equity-minded data literacy to understand our outcomes data, and to interrogate our taken for granted policies and practices that block African American, Latinx, Native American, and Pacific Islander students from educational opportunity. Given the short time that we have today, I want to talk about just one area where our center is leading professional learning, equity in faculty hiring. Rather than providing best practices, we focus on best practitioners. We take into account the high levels of context-specific knowledge that faculty possess and provide inquiry protocols for faculty to look into their own practice and engage in ongoing learning across the professional lifespan. It is widely acknowledged that faculty hiring in California is out of step with the demographic shifts that we are seeing in student identities in our state. And CUE is building capacity for faculty to identify how racial bias is keeping faculty representation static. The Campaign for College Opportunity recently released a report showing the disparities between students' backgrounds and the professionals, teachers, and leaders they encounter on their college campuses. So in this slide, you can see the undergraduate demographic representation in the state. In this slide, you can see the demographic representation of the professionals in higher education that are currently working in our field. Vast, vast majority of whom are white. Why is diversity in our current faculty ranks such a problem for the success of racially minoritized students? Here's what we know from the research. Students of color experience better outcomes when taught by faculty of color and are more likely to identify with and approach faculty of their same racial ethnic background. Culturally responsive classrooms led by faculty of color have high expectations and favorable views of students, utilize pedagogical approaches that are relevant to and advance the learning of students of color, and curb the stereotype threat experienced by students of color. Faculty of color enhance the sense of belonging that students of color can feel on campus. They promote positive and curb negative social outcomes for students of color. And faculty of color are more likely to advocate for and build relationships with students. CUE has now convened over 40 California community college campuses to look into their faculty hiring processes. Teams of 10 look at data about how candidates proceed through the hiring process, and they identify the precise points when a pool becomes less diverse. They look into the language of their job announcements and see how their college is presenting their values around racial equity to potential hires. The teams work together to learn about implicit bias and to build interpersonal strategies to disrupt explicit bias when it emerges in hiring committee meetings. We are already seeing widespread changes in job announcements used across the state after 1 year of engaging in this important work. This is one example of our methodology for professional development. We convene faculty from across campus areas to engage deeply in discussions of racial equity. They become researchers into their own practice and change agents willing to advocate for their racially minoritized students. To conclude, I want to restate the importance of faculty development outside of their subject areas. The state should be funding more programming for faculty to come together and learn how to bring critical race consciousness into their practice. One action the state can take that does not require funding is to shift the language that we use around achievement versus opportunity gaps. We cannot begin to talk about an achievement gap until we ensure that all of our students do have equal opportunity to higher education. It is crucial that we stop talking about the achievement gap as a problem of student motivation or student preparation, and insist in no uncertain terms that our institutions are the source of the inequities that we are seeing. This reframing has two benefits. The first is to acknowledge and attempt to correct many centuries of government-sponsored educational injustice, from Jim Crow segregation to Native American boarding schools for language eradication. The second benefit is to reframe educational inequity as a problem of practice within the sphere of influence of our faculty, a problem with a solution that we can achieve through reflection and professional learning. We will not achieve the aims of a just and equitable system without dismantling our euphemistic language around racial injustice, challenging our myths of meritocracy, and rethinking the taken for granted practices of our higher education system. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Klotz. And for everybody here today and anybody watching online later on, all of the materials, all the slides that folks have presented today is going to be available on my website under the California Master Plan drop-down menu for folks if they want it in the future. With that, I want to welcome my colleague, Dr. Weber, who joined us soon after we started today. And give her a chance to say any opening words if she'd like, or we can just get right down to Q&A, because I know my colleagues have been taking a lot of notes. And I've heard them speak to a lot of these issues before, and I know they have a lot of thoughts. So I'll start it off with anybody who wants to jump in.
Yeah. Well, thank you to all the panelists. A lot of information, a lot of thought-provoking information presented. As the chair said, many of these issues we've been discussing in Sacramento. And a lot jumps out at me, the lack of funding of the state and the correlation between the lack of funding in the state of California for higher education and the change in the ratio of students to faculty. When I was a student here back in the 70s, we were a campus of 6,000 students, and we had I'm sure a great ratio of students to faculty. I was able as a student to really get to know my faculty here, and I think they were able to do the same. And the experience, I'm sure, is different when the student ratio to faculty is so much higher. And I will, take responsibility for this, for the state. We can't. I've said before, we can't talk at both ends of our mouths and criticize while not funding. So that is taken. I am very taking notes, Professor Klotz, pronouncing it correctly, what you said about that we get the systems that we, help me here, that we
design.
That we design.
Yes.
We had a hearing on faculty diversity at San Jose State, and I'll repeat the statement made by UC faculty, astronomer, distinguished faculty, who said that we do not have the diversity in higher education because we don't want to, was the statement he said. The programs that we have in place are laudable. Many of them here at UC Riverside, cluster hiring, the statement, Professor, that you mentioned, the statement of diversity, understanding of how to teach diverse student population, requiring that diversity statement as part of the application. I mentioned it in Sacramento, cluster hiring that has taken place here at UC Riverside. I know that Chancellor Wilcox was able to hire, I believe it was 7 Native American faculty in the last year. So lots of very laudable things. However, I would point out to a documentary that I saw recently. It goes back 50 years back to 1968, when students at San Francisco State University, students at Cornell University, in very uncertain terms, protested for the same things that we are talking about 50 years later. Lack of diversity in higher education. And so as much as I applaud all segments for the work that they are doing and the continuing work and the great programs, some of which are going to be underfunded this year. The program of the postdoctoral fellowship program is going to be cut in half this year. Where it received maybe $2 million, it would receive $1 million this year. And these programs cost money. Why are we now going to underfund them? Every year, and we have with us Josefina Canchola, every year we fight to maintain the programs that we know are working, programs like Puente and Mesa. We fight every year to keep funding them. So I am, I'm not even sure what words to say. The figures, if we look at the progression of diverse faculty hiring, especially within UC, are flat. And if we look from year to year, going back 40, 50 years. I shared with Dr. Weber that in the fall, I intend to have a hearing specifically on the lack of diversity in UC, because I think we could talk about it for 3-4 hours, and that's what I intend to do in the fall, come back to UCR to have a hearing on the lack of diversity faculty in UC. But thank you all to all the panelists, and certainly these are things that we can take back with us to Sacramento.
I want to thank you all for, I think this is on. be now. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to apologize. I was stuck in the traffic. I didn't know that just is a bottleneck trying to wait. You're so close, you could see it, but you can't get there. One of those kind of realities. I appreciate being here this morning, and some of you may know that I spent 40 years as a professor of Africana Studies at San Diego State University. I was the founder of Africana Studies and a full professor at San Diego State University, and came to the Assembly after my retirement at San Diego State, where I continued to really work and do international programs, and I've worked with several of you over the years in terms of the ongoing struggle of what is present in terms of trying to bring change to the system. I appreciate the comments, and I'm pleased that the chairs of the Academic Senate are here on this panel, because you play a critical role in determining what happens on all of our campuses and the systems, and I appreciate Dr. Klotz's comments, because as we've made efforts at the university, at the legislature, to try to bring change, we're often confronted with the idea or the notion that these institutions are run by the faculty. That is the faculty's will. If we're talking diversity in faculty, if we're talking change in curriculum, if we're talking requirements of ethnic studies of all students who come to the university, and as a legislature, those are things we could work on and mandate, but we're often confronted with the notion of, oftentimes a misuse of the word academic freedom, which is not what that's about. And that's why I had to clarify that recently. But the notion that these institutions are collegial institutions, and they are, that are run by faculty, that the issues of curriculum and hiring and those kinds of things go through the faculty. And having been in that system and in those positions of personnel, on personnel committees and what have you, and hiring things, that is true. So from your perspective as chairs of these academic senates, which everybody pays homage to, I served on the academic senate, so I don't pay as much homage as everybody else does. I spent 6 or 7 years, I can't remember, a long part of my life seemed like on the academic senate. So what do you see as, other than funding, because if funding were the key, I'd probably go find the money for you, but what do you see as the key to changing the dynamics of these institutions around the issue of hiring and research? Because even though we can say the activities you engage in for diversity or whatever should count like the others, anybody in its institution knows those are very beautiful words. But in those personnel committees where I've sat, people say, yes, it's wonderful that they've gone out and rescued all these kids and they're working with them and they're helping them to be successful. However, they should have done one more article. And so they did 2. The guy who did nothing did 3. And the 3 gets promoted and tenured, and the 2 person gets a say, you need to get another article in, blah, blah, blah. And so in some small way, which is really large, the emphasis is said in many ways that this is unimportant in the real world. In the world of tenure, promotion, and resources, working with these populations is not that important. It's important, but it's not, because it doesn't count in terms of how folks count folks, or who they celebrate, who they laud, who they become the dean, who becomes whatever else there is to be. We know who gets that. So how do we change that? Since you folks are chairs of the Academic Senate, which according to, I'm being told by all your presidents and chancellors, that if you folks said it, it would happen. That's what they tell us, which I know that's not always true either. But what could we do? I mean, what could we do to change that dynamics? Because everybody kind of shifts it to everybody else. When it comes down to figuring out how you're going to move these institutions to really open up to the population of students who are here and to make a difference in California. What if there was one thing you could think about that would change it, what would it be? Since, like I said, you guys are chairs of the Academic Senate.
Well, thank you. I wish that we did have the power that you thought we have. And I thank you for your years of service. I see, I have a couple of comments. One is, it's a chicken and egg situation. We've got to do better with the pipeline. That's absolutely fundamental. we have got to have a professoriate, an academy that represents and is reflective of the people. Getting there is the hard bit. We have said what we want. We have said what our ideals are. We have encoded in our practices the importance of diversity and contributions to diversity. We've got that in the applicant having a diversity statement. We've got that in our appraisal of the applicant. I think what Professor Klotz said is we've got to recognize that we have a problem and that we are the problem. And I believe we do, because we've been making those changes to ourselves. So it's a chicken and egg. We've got to break the cycle. We've got to have a better pipeline. And I would also say that the Faculty Senate may get to make a recommendation, but it's the administration who make the hire. We make recommendations, an administrator makes the hire. So the leadership at all levels, whether it's Senate or administrative, or dean or a chancellor, has got to live that too. So I guess in a way, I'm not passing the buck, but I'm sharing it with the administration. I would also say we've got another example. At UC, our student body has long been weighted towards female gender. But at the next step, grad school, we lose some of that. At the next step, postdoc, we lose some of that. At the next step, faculty, we lose some of that. Now, we have a lady for president. Last year, we had a lady as provost. We have 2 ladies as chancellors. We're getting through that, but we've got to break this thing, and it's a chicken and egg thing. And it's very, very hard to do, but I really see the pipeline. We've got to put our resources into that pipeline. I hope I'm helping give context and addressing your question.
You are.
Could I follow up? I referenced the year 1968. Since then, Dr. Weber got through and got her doctorate at UCLA. There are many more like her who have graduated and have got their doctorates from our institutions, from the University of California. So it seems to me that the number of qualified folks with PhDs have vastly increased over the last 50 years, but still the number of faculty remain the same. So I understand, wanting to increase the pipeline, but I was a student here. I got my master's here. I actually began the PhD program here in history. And I have and had lots of friends who look like me, some of whom went on to finish their PhDs, some of whom are tenured in departments of history at Irvine, but not enough. So I don't know that just, 50 years ago, we were saying the same thing. We were saying 50 years ago that there were not enough, but there have been. The number has had to have increased in the pool, as they say.
Could I speak briefly to the pipeline question? Because it's something we've talked a lot about working with community colleges. So I know that the UC is, of course, a very different context. But I can tell you we hear the same exact argument every time we speak to faculty from community colleges about why California community colleges have such a vast majority of white faculty that has not budged in any substantial way in these years that you're talking about. So what we did at our center is we went and we found in the past 5 years every single person who meets the minimum qualifications, who's African American, Native American, Latinx, Pacific Islander, and Asian American in the state from the CSU and the UC system. So we actually created a packet for all of our faculty to show this is your pool, and it's actually a massive pool. So there is something else that is going on. Are you in the community college system where the requirement to teach is a master's degree? Are you going for that white candidate with the PhD? And if you are, then why? What are the ways you need to reframe your notion of merit so that you can be sure that you are actually fulfilling the needs of your students?
I'd like to just chime in. I think you're spot on. And I think one of the things, at least for community colleges, is that we don't have, when you lost me on the articles for tenure and all that, right? Because it's very different for us. And it is about the teaching.
Right.
And we are colleges of teaching. So I think really the conversation, it has to be the moral imperative. It has to be the idea that this is a moral imperative. And so we have got to start examining our processes. We have got to reduce those barriers. We have got to, that pool is out there, and we have got to figure out why we're not recruiting that pool, how we're not recruiting that pool to get in so that we widen that pool that we're looking at and ensuring that we are hiring those that are ready to meet our students. And that's really what it's all about. I do think also there has to be this change in the way that we talk about teaching and learning and pedagogy. And we have to go back to critical pedagogy. And we've got to figure that out amongst ourselves. And I think that's why when we look at what's happening for our faculty in the community colleges, we need to have the courage to have the conversations to confront our colleagues and our practices, and we need to figure out how to get rid of the stuff that is not serving our students and really focus on where we need to serve them. And so that takes time and it takes space to do. And so I think really if we can figure out and just create that space. And I think we're really starting to. I think the work that Q is doing, I think the work that the Chancellor's Office and the Academic Senate's doing, I think the work that we're doing around the Guided Pathways Award Program is actually part of that, is bringing people together to really look at what are we creating as barriers. But it has to be an institution-wide, and because our colleges are local, community-based institutions, that work is for them to really dig in and do.
But I take Mr. Medina's point. It's been 50 years. We've had that moral imperative even back then. Yeah. So it's not the moral imperative that's changed. I would say the big difference between 50 years ago and now is whether we can be more intentional about it. And intentionality, a lot of the things that drive faculty is data. We have data dashboards now that we never had back 50 years ago. We have the data, like the slides that have been shown today, that show the situation, and we can point to that rather than anecdote. We know, for instance, that students tell us, I succeed better when I see someone like me up in front of the classroom, and that's an anecdote. When we can take data and put it to those anecdotes, it gives us more ammunition to be intentional. And once we can get intentional about it, we can reward it. And so we move then from rewarding, for instance, publications to rewarding how many students of color have you helped this year? That kind of thing, where we can actually now begin to track it and hopefully begin to reward it. So the moral imperative is still there, and I think it's strong. It just needs to have some backing to it now with a reward structure and more intentionality.
I think I think clearly intentionality is critical, because if you don't make that your goal to do, you won't. It becomes no more than open statements. And I think also we have to ask ourselves, and I'm sure you do, why is it that those who come don't stay sometimes? It has a lot to do with the fact that the environment is not always welcoming. You can't expect to infuse women, people of color into an institution and expect them to act like men who are white. They bring a different kind of flavor to them, a different atmosphere to the campus, and that's probably why students are attracted to them. And so if you are constantly looking for those faculty or your colleague who looks like you, or who may not look like you but act like you, then you end up basically bringing people into an institution, which we often do, that have little relationship to the students at all. Okay, and so and it's not only you, it's also K-12 and everybody else. And so I think we have to realize that once you decide that the institution needs to be infused with a diverse faculty, a diverse curriculum, we have to acknowledge that that ivory tower will no longer be ivory colored anymore. It will be, you know, maybe Jamaican colored or whatever, but it will not be the same. And I found as a faculty member in the Senate and chair of a department for about 30 years and everything else, that was probably the greatest challenge, that people wanted folks there, but they wanted them to act like them. And I had to remind them, this is an African-American male. He doesn't act like the other ones. And the students are attracted to him because he has a swagger to him that's a little bit more exciting. His curriculum, you know, his subject matter is clear. He teaches a class. He knows his material. But he may be a little louder in the hallway than somebody else, or whatever it may be. And so we have to acknowledge that if you're in the process of change, it is going to change. It is not going to look like what you want to look like. And I think that more than anything else is the hardest part. And it's interesting because when I was on the faculty, we would have folks who would go out with every intention to hire a person and bring them to campus, African American, bring them to campus, introduce them to their faculty, introduce them to the administration, and then they would leave. They would get home and they would call me because somebody said, did you meet Dr. Weber, the chair of Africana Studies? No. And so they would call me and say, I didn't meet any black people while I was on campus. Where's the black life that I'm going to be a part of, the community that I'm going to be a part of too? And sometimes, and I mentioned that to colleagues, they said, well, we didn't think that was very important. Well, it is important if you're hiring an African American to know that there's an African American community in San Diego, that there's one on campus, faculty and staff, and that they may want to be a part of it because then they realize I can not only teach here, but I can live here as well. And so I think, you know, the recognition and really trying to change the dynamics of interview panels and who you take folks to see and when you bring them around the campuses, all those kinds of things make a tremendous change in the person saying, yes, I will come.
I hate to cut this conversation off. That's the bad news. The good news is that Chair Medina is going to continue the conversation in a couple of months right back here at UCR. Well, let me can we give a round of applause to all of our panelists? Thank you very much. We're only 23 minutes behind schedule, which as this being the fourth hearing, I've gotten used to by now. But let's bring up our second panel of folks who are going to speak to the needs of California faculty and lecturers from a union perspective. I'd like to introduce Dr. Jonathan Mcleod, Professor of History and Vice President of AFT Guild Local 1931, California Federation of Teachers. I'd like to introduce Dr. Sharon Elise, Professor of Sociology and Associate Vice President, South of Council for Affirmative Action at the California Faculty Association, and Dr. Mia McIver, Writing Programs Lecturer and President of University Council at the American Federation of Teachers. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. And if Dr. McLeod, if you'd like to kick us off.
Okay, I'm Jonathan McLeod,
and if you could just hit the little button on top there. Thank you.
I'm Jonathan McLeod, and I'm a professor of history at San Diego Mesa College, where I've been on the faculty for 28 years. And I'm also vice president of the American Federation of Teachers for the San Diego Community College, Grossmont, Cuyamaca colleges. So thank you to the committee, Mark Berman as chair, Jose Medina, and my fellow San Diegan Shirley Weber for inviting me. In framing the master plan for California higher education in 1960, Clark Kerr defined a formal structural relationship among the three tiers of junior colleges, state colleges, and the University of California. Kerr envisioned both social inclusiveness in students' educational opportunities and a culture of academic excellence in research, and that was a meritocratic system. At that moment, in many ways, this vision seemed to fuel optimism in the state, optimism which influenced public attitudes towards the University of California for some time. From the vantage point of 2018, it is apparent that California's community college systems have strengths in offering students life-changing opportunities in academic and career technical education and in advancing scholarly research. Yet the great plan which Clark Kerr articulated has stalled. Contributing factors include, as has been mentioned in some ways by previous speakers, the libertarian insurgency and the anti-taxation movements since the 1980s, changing demographics of Californians, the destabilizing rise of the super-rich entrepreneurs concentrated in the Silicon Valley, and the concentration of wealth among the new elites. Now, some of those newly moneyed ventured philanthropists court opportunities with politicians and educational leaders in the top ranks of the college and university systems to promote their brands and various prescriptions for educational reform. Buffeted by these forces, college and university faculty face marginalization. Faculty contend that in the push to boost enrollment, increase student retention and success rates leading to degrees and certificates for transfer and employment, that their voices are not heard and their professional expertise and practical knowledge of student needs is disregarded wholesale. Today I focused on what this means for the faculty in the California community colleges. I start by pointing out that despite some negativism in some corners, the successes of the community colleges are very real. A few statistics illustrate my point. In academic year 2016-17, the California community colleges enrolled 2.15 million students. That is the largest system in the United States, maybe in the world. California Community College to UC transfers increased between 2015 and 2016, increased by 1,600 students for a total of 61,871 students. Some 51% of CSU graduates and 29% of UC graduates started in the community colleges. Many community college graduates entered the labor force and earned wages which on the average were higher than those paid to employees lacking any college degrees. Every day, though, community college faculty face many hurdles. An April 2018 study by Temple University and the Wisconsin Hope Lab, which included the San Diego Community College District in its sampling, indicates that 42% of community college students contend with housing insecurity, 42%, and that 46% suffer from food insecurity. Meanwhile, CSU leadership now recognizes the urgent need for enhanced mental health services, which students have been requesting. The state legislature reportedly is considering mandating an improvement in the ratio of mental health counselors to CSU students. The needs in the much larger community college system almost certainly are even greater, but the system is grossly underfunded to meet the demand. Across the U.S., we struggle with illiteracy and innumeracy. According to a 26 April 2018 National Public Radio investigative report, 35 million adult Americans, 1/6 of the population, cannot read at third grade level. Most are white European Americans, but the proportions of these Americans lacking literacy skill are greatest among Latinos, 41%, and African Americans, 32%. During my 3 decades of teaching in the California community college system, approximately 2/3 of our incoming students have been assessed as needing developmental training in reading, writing, and numeracy. Let me be clear that all of these statistics describe real people, our community college students. So yes, we faculty face major hurdles, but we lack the full support needed to advance our students' education. In this environment, what have been the institutional responses over time? Instead of a predictable revenue stream, the colleges are forced to chase enrollment, demonstrating to the legislature and the governor that we are being productive and deserving of our full apportionment. Given the continuous ebbing and flowing of enrollment, especially now when the numbers of graduating high school students is retreating, enrollment management-driven decisions often lead to imprudent policies that adversely affect both students and faculty trying to serve them. Governor Brown's proposal for performance-based funding only adds insult to injury. Since the mid-1970s, the growing reliance of colleges and universities on contingent faculty to teach students while pulling tenure lines has been a dirty secret. As data from the Community College Chancellor's Office, statewide, indicate, during fall of 2016, the head count of adjunct faculty employed in the California Community Colleges was 42,044, or 69.3% of the total community college headcount of 60,633. Limited to assignments of 67% of a full load per academic year in any one district, many of the adjuncts in urban and suburban areas have assignments at multiple districts simultaneously. Even with those paychecks, most adjunct faculty struggle to meet the cost of living. It's appalling that adjunct faculties still account for 47% of full-time equivalent faculty. Generally as well, the adjunct faculty are able to take on little, if any, service work, which means program review, curriculum development and revision, industry and community outreach, and the never-ending accountability reporting for their departments. Consequently, the tenure-line faculty are left with more than their fair share of these responsibilities, as well as the time-consuming processes of faculty evaluation and service on shared governance committees that keep the departments and the colleges running. For at least the last 15 years, the colleges have been confronted with the new initiatives and mid-course corrections of ongoing initiatives, always top-down. Most emanate from the State Chancellor's Office or the U.S. Department of Education. Well, who instigates those reform agendas? Mostly they're grants from the Gates, Lumina, Teagle, James Irvine, College Futures, and William and Flora Hewlett Foundations. All are launched from the top ranks with minimal input from faculty professionals, having practical experience and subject matter expertise. Most of these agendas are one-size-fits-all. They focus on instructional methodology and outcomes measurement. Typically, the plans are steeped in jargon from schools of education. In concept, they ignore the subject matter of academic disciplines while being oriented towards career technical training programs. But all programs alike are tasked to get on board with the latest regimes, whether these measure student learning outcomes or developing guided pathways. Some of these initiatives are even inherently contradictory. Thus, faculty are prodded to transform classes into online formats so that colleges will participate in the online educational initiative. Or even Governor Brown's proposed 115th community college a fully online institution. At the same time, Thomas Bailey, who's one of the inspirations for guided pathways, Thomas Bailey and his associates have argued definitively that online courses are counterproductive in improving educational opportunities for Latinos and African American students in particular. And that's backed up by the Public Policy Institute report of California, 2014, and the Brookings Institute report of 2017. And those are national studies involving tens of thousands of students. So what am I asking the legislature and the select committee on the master plan? Well, first off, to replace the inefficient enrollment-based funding model with a simple formula, allocating a proportion of the annual budget resources to the California community colleges to meet the dynamic environment. This would parallel the budgeting process for basic aid districts. 2, fund the transformation of community college faculty. Invest in the hiring of tenure-line faculty to meet that 75-25 ratio that was first put forward in AB 1725 dating back to 1988. For God's sakes, it's long overdue. Number 3, in the short run, boost funding for California community college districts to enhance adjunct faculty salary schedules and to raise the level of compensation for adjunct faculty holding even limited office hours. 4, build on recent progress to improve the counselor-to-student ratio. 5, allocate funding for student services to address food insecurity in the student population, not just patchwork, but something more substantial. 6, provide incentives for community college districts to partner with public agencies in identifying practical solutions for students' housing insecurity. 7, and finally, stop the privatization of the public community colleges. The impact of grant funding is undermining shared governance and redirecting the mission of the colleges with little substantive, and I emphasize substantive, input from all the stakeholders. Faculty, classified professional staff, and students, and yes, even honest administrators, if they can speak off the record, are reform initiative weary. We want to get away from the disruptive business model and get back to our core mission. In closing, I thank the committee for hearing my testimony and considering my recommendations.
Thank you, Dr. Mcleod. Dr. Elise.
I'm Sharon Elise, Associate Vice President, South, Council for Affirmative Action for the California Faculty Association. The CFA represents more than 28,000 tenure-line professors, lecturers, librarians, counselors, and coaches on the 23 campuses of the California State University system, also known as the People's University. I am also professor and chair of the sociology department, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much for having me. You asked us a certain set of questions, and I want to respond in that way. So first, as we consider what faculty need to support students, I want to emphasize access and equity. In the CFA, we like to say that faculty teaching conditions are student learning conditions. This is why we focus on what is available to the students. In terms of access, we know that California high school students have risen to meet CSU qualifications, so they deserve access. And yet, at the end of Schwarzenegger's governorship and throughout Governor Brown's recent tenure, both the CSU and the UC turned away tens of thousands who were qualified every year. This is a crisis for California's long-term economic and social well-being. These prospective students will either go to other institutions or they won't go. The state's proposal for funding amounts to an underfunding with an allocation of just $92 million additional dollars. The CSU administration counters with a request of $263 million, still not enough. CFA recommends funding the CSU at $422.6 million. Additional dollars. Only this funding level would help to increase student admissions up to a point of an additional 18,000 FTE students, still not the number that is being turned away, only half. Our recent report, available on our website, calfac.org, Equity Interrupted, showed that the CSU system educates a more diverse student body today than it did 30 years ago. But as the number of students of color increased, the funding went down. As we see it, when the student body got darker, the funding got lighter. Only it's not funny. 94% of the student body in the CSU is from California. 3/4 of them identify as students of color. We know higher education is such an important opportunity structure and that it's helpful for the economy as well. So we urge that the CSU be funded at a level that ensures all qualified CSU graduates and community college transfers are admitted to a public university. Our request for that $422 million would only return us to half the level of support enjoyed by students in California of the 1980s when the average student was a white male. In terms of equity, a related aspect is that students need faculty who can provide them with equity in education, which is not possible because of problems of implicit bias in faculty hiring and evaluation that obstruct the diversification of the faculty. Short term for that would be racism. Racism is a problem. Haven't heard that word today, so I feel like putting that out on the table. Students need and deserve a faculty that mirrors the composition of California and the overall CSU student population. We know from decades of research that underrepresented students and students of color also need a culturally relevant curricula and pedagogy to thrive. So we must transform traditional notions of the cornerstones of higher education to not just include, but even center courses in ethnic studies and women's studies, along with pedagogies based in collaborative learning, service learning, and community engagement that articulate with the community ethos from which many of our students draw their strength. The second question you asked us to address are the challenges and barriers faculty face in meeting student needs. We feel central to this question is dealing with the question of tenure-track faculty. That quality higher education can only be assured by ending the recent trends toward reliance on quote-unquote temporary faculty. And I say that in quotes. Recently, a faculty in my department retired from her temporary job after 25 years. We believe that lecturer faculty positions need to be understood as simply positions based in instruction, whereas tenure-track faculty positions include scholarly and creative activity and service, as other colleagues have mentioned here, advising, mentoring, collaborative work with students, committee service, academic program development and review, faculty peer evaluation, and so forth. 50 years of research shows that student advancement in and beyond college depends on relationships they build with faculty through the kinds of service that tenure-track faculty provide. For growing numbers of students who are of color, who are immigrant, who are first generation, who are veteran, these mentoring relationships are critical to their success. Example, I had a student who was just walking through the cafeteria when I saw her. She was on the verge of dropping out. I had no idea. But when we spoke, she stayed in school. She got strategies to stay in. She is a Native woman, an indigenous woman, who is now a full professor at a college. We can make a difference. So, through tenure-track faculty, we can provide these kinds of services important to our students, but the growing reliance on the contingent faculty workforce means that we are underserving those students. And it also means a greater burden on those who are faculty of color. In the CFA, we call this cultural taxation that faculty of color have to pay, as they are the ones who know what their students need. And I see this through efforts of my colleagues. So for example, students will say, Professor X kept me in school, or I didn't feel I belonged here, but Professor X told me about her journey to the PhD, and she had the same struggles. It gave me confidence. So Professor X is culturally taxed, but she will pay that tax to help those students stay in school. CFA, therefore, proposes a budget that sets aside $50 million of existing ongoing funds just to target the hiring of tenure-track faculty. The third framing question was how the master plan met the needs of faculty, and what is an action the state could take that wouldn't require funding, what is one that would? Shared governance costs nothing to the CSU. It's important for the CSU to respect the ways that faculty consultation can inform the direction and shape of education in our state. Yet in recent decades, and particularly all through this year, we saw case after case of policy set out without consultation with faculty. This experience with administrative fiats, for example, with changes in graduation requirements, is a case in point. In terms of one thing the legislation could do to support needs of faculty that does have a cost, we need a long-term funding source to support free public education, such as the legislation recently introduced by Assemblymember Eggman. My father's people are immigrants from the Caribbean who enjoyed free education in the UC system. My mother, who is here with me, and her family enjoyed free education in the community college system in LA. My husband and one of my children are CSU graduates who, like me and many of the people in my generation, including many of our legislators, benefited from an almost free higher education. So why aren't students getting the same deal we got? By the time my daughter graduated from a CSU a couple of years ago, her tuition was 400% higher than her father paid. There is a strong economic case for free public higher education. The Public Policy Institute of California estimates California will be over 1 million college graduates short to meet the demands of the economy by 2030, just around the corner. This trend will worsen without action. Education is our driving force for our economy, and it's also such an important gift that we can give ourselves and our citizens. Let's do the right thing for students in the People's University. assure their access to an education based on equity under the direction of tenure-track faculty who can devote time to mentoring them in an institution that thrives because it is reasonably funded. Thank you so much for this honor.
Thank you, Dr. Elise and Dr. McIver.
Chair Berman, Assemblymember Medina, Dr. Weber, colleagues in the audience, and those watching online today, thank you for the opportunity to address you. I received my PhD from UC Irvine, meaning the people of California invested in me as a scholar and a teacher. So I'm part of the pipeline that we've been talking about today. It's an honor to repay that trust and help guide California's public higher education forward into the future. I'm currently a contingent faculty member at UCLA and president of University Council American Federation of Teachers, the labor union representing UC lecturers and librarians. I speak today on behalf of non-tenure track faculty who are integral to the UC's tripartite mission of research, education, and service. The 1960 Master Plan never envisioned the widespread exploitation of underpaid, underemployed faculty. Yet that is the situation at the UC today, and as we've been hearing, at the community colleges and the CSUs. UC's 4,700 lecturers teach 1/3 of undergraduate student credit hours. And I'll add, those are often gateway classes that offer entries to the major. For me, when I teach first-year students, I look forward every fall to the first day of class to being in the classroom with my students and saying to them, many of them first-generation students, welcome to college. That is a magic moment. Altogether, precarious instructors, including adjuncts, visiting assistant professors, academic student employees, and others, teach nearly 1/2 of undergraduate credit hours. Faculty growth is occurring mainly in contingent job titles. The UC uses temporary faculty to do permanent work, a short-sighted policy that shortchanges California students. I myself have been working as a temporary faculty member for 8 years now. Although there are 54% more students at the UC today than in 2000, clearly indicating a long-term need for high-quality instruction, excellent lecturers are treated as disposable and subject to forced turnover, often prevented from teaching longer than a year or two. Like many of my colleagues, I work multiple jobs to make ends meet and struggle to remain in the middle class. Artificially depressed appointment percentages unnecessarily exclude lecturers from basic health and retirement benefits. And we perform countless hours of uncompensated research and service, not to mention the emotional service and labor that my colleagues have also described. Our working conditions incur profound feelings of isolation, anxiety, and depression. By neglecting a core of incredibly qualified, talented, experienced, and accomplished faculty, the UC diminishes these dedicated public servants who are so well prepared to mentor students. And this is what really kills me. It is such a waste. UC Office of the President administrators publicly describe contingent faculty as subsidizing tenure-track faculty by teaching their classes for them. This two-tier model, in which teaching is effectively outsourced, drives a wedge between faculty and creates clear conflicts of interest where we should be united. This is not only a matter of equity within a faculty hierarchy, but also of racial and gender equity. Lecturers are more likely than tenure-track faculty to be women and people of color. UC campuses intensify this stratification by separating research and teaching into distinct silos. Whereas the master plan originally emphasized the importance of scholar teachers, UC administrators are increasingly segregating pedagogy from scholarship. This does a clear disservice to both the students, who benefit from studying with experts in their chosen fields, and to faculty whose research benefits from engaging student perspectives. In considering the future of the master plan, the legislature should restore state funding to historically high levels and dedicate a stable funding source to all three segments of public higher education. The Reclaim California Higher Education Coalition has proposed one such policy, the $66 fix. California students deserve to graduate from college debt-free. Stable and dedicated funding will also relieve the UC from the budgetary uncertainty that drives faculty precarity and undermines student success. Reform the Board of Regents to ensure its members better reflect California's residents and UC stakeholders, promote educational instead of corporate governance, and include a seat for a contingent faculty member. Include measures of contingent faculty welfare and accountability metrics for the UC, and set ambitious targets for the UC to meet. The most revealing statistics to analyze would be lecturer turnover rate and average appointment percentage. And I have some of those numbers with me today in case people are interested during the Q&A. And finally, advocate for contingent faculty professional development and inclusion in academic initiatives. While taking care not to infringe on the famous autonomy of the UC, the legislature should urge the regents to stop forced turnover by instituting rehiring rights for early career contingent faculty. After taking one of my classes, my students often ask whether they can take another with me. I have to respond, I don't know whether I'll be teaching next year. We can only invest in our students to the extent that the university invests in us. Improve quality of instruction by replacing student evaluations of teaching with a peer review model of teaching evaluation. Students deserve to have a voice in their own education. There's no doubt about that. But research demonstrates that using student evaluations in personnel decisions perpetuates racism and sexism, compromises academic freedom, and generates a customer service dynamic that undermines sound pedagogy. Establish pay parity among tenure track and non-tenure track faculty. Enough said. Enfranchise lecturers and adjuncts through membership in the UC Academic Senate. We have tremendous responsibility for educating students, but little to no voice in decision-making about curricula and other matters. There's no justifiable reason to exclude such an enormous number of faculty from shared governance. My students make me fiercely proud when they graduate with the ability to inquire, to challenge, and to create. The UC makes me fiercely proud when it empowers members of our community within and beyond the university. By inviting contingent faculty to this hearing, you've already signaled that you share this pride, as well as a holistic vision for research, teaching, and service at the UC. I'm grateful for the opportunities to speak today, for your commitment to public higher education, and for your leadership in reframing the master plan for the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. McIver. And with that, I'll open up to my colleagues for any questions or comments they might have.
I want to thank all of you for your comments. These are issues that clearly get to the heart, I think, of faculty and the importance of faculty and its relationship to accomplishing the goals that we want. I'm sure you probably follow somehow or another the number of bills that we put forward to try to accomplish these goals. And you know, being the one member, I think, in the House, or the one of two that have actually served as a tenured faculty on one of these campuses and chaired a department, and so kind of know the drama and the trauma involved in part-time hiring and the ratio that exists between faculty, full-time tenure track faculty, and part-time faculty. It is critical for an institution to have a lot of tenured faculty because that really gets to us to the mission we want, which is not only giving students the opportunity to have a mentor and a supporter, but to stabilize the institution and the offerings that are there, and to actually run the institutions. You know, if faculty are supposed to run the universities, which they tell us, then you have to have enough of us. I say us, I still have this bad identity, but anyway, you need to have enough of them to be able to serve on all these committees. Otherwise, you burn them out. And so you don't get the quality that you want that's there, as well as faculty, part-time faculty that runs around. I think one of the things we have to also look at is that I found disturbing when I was in, I don't know if it's still there, I'm sure it is, I haven't been gone that long, is that when we get ready to hire permanent faculty, we generally don't look to our part-timers to hire at the CSU. It was always alarming to me that I'd meet individuals who have been at the university for 10, 20 years working and sometimes teaching 5 and 6 classes where the average faculty teaches about 2 to 3. And when it came down to hire a permanent person, permanent faculty, they did not consider this part-timer who had a strong record of teaching, who may not have had a strong record of publications because they were teaching so many classes and running all over the world. It was rare, I mean absolutely rare, when a part-time faculty got a full-time position at the university after teaching for 5, 10, 15 years. And I found that to be alarming. I don't know if it's changed any, but you know, here's something that's tried and true that you know can do the job, and yet they generally don't get the nod. They don't get the permanent faculty position. So being identified as an adjunct for faculty is really a life sentence. You're going to be that adjunct faculty if you remain in the system forever. And I have friends who've been adjunct for years. I've only had one who actually became at Mesa, who's chair of Black Studies now, who was a former student of mine, who actually became a permanent faculty. Everybody else is not Starla, Thakima Mayasa. Starla came in, I think, as a full-time faculty, I believe, yeah, but Thakima came in as a part-time faculty, and she's the only one I've known to actually be hired as a full-time person, faculty afterward. That's good to know. But I know at CSU that is rare. I don't know of any at CSU, maybe one, that actually, after my 40 years, who actually got a full-time position and had been an adjunct faculty member. And that was always alarming to me, because when we opened the pool, we would never, if they applied, they were never considered. There were always the newest flavor that seemed more exciting, you know, that was there. But I appreciate your comments. We've tried and put bills forward. I have to get to the 75 and push the 75, and somehow or another, it's hard to get our administrators who are in charge of all the systems to believe that should happen, because they want, quote, the flexibility to do other things with the resources. And so but it is something I think that the legislature needs to continue to champion. It may be something you should bring up with the new folks running for governor, because that would be an extremely important piece. Thank you so much.
As Dr. Weber brings up the fact of bringing it up with the new person running for governor, there's an editorial in today's Sacramento Bee that says just that, that the next governor should be someone who fully funds higher education, that fully funds UC and CSU. And I shared the article this morning. I shared that editorial this morning on my Facebook page, and I asked the question, why should we wait another year? And I say that in all seriousness. I say that in all seriousness. We should not have to wait another year. You know, everyone on this panel here so far, and I think we'll continue to hear the same thing I write in my notes, the importance of funding. I don't think the students of California can wait another year. And we're hearing that, I think, very dramatically throughout the year. Students can't wait another year. So, you know, let's not wait another year. We have the resources to do it this year. We need to do it this year.
Take $100 million out of the California online college and ship it to faculty.
Well, hopefully it's not going to go in there, but I am on the budget.
Yeah, I also serve on the budget committee, and yesterday I met with the community college faculty in Sacramento, and I don't think there's much buy-in among the budget committee on the $100 million for the online. And I will make another point that I heard from Professor Mcleod, that there hasn't been consultation. There hasn't been consultation, even with the chancellors. We heard from Chancellor of El Camino College that it would be the worst. Well, that was in funding, in reference to the funding, the performance base.
Yes.
Both of them, yes. Both proposals. I don't think there's been consultation with the chancellors. I don't think there's been, obviously, consultation with the faculty. So I might agree that $100 million would be better spent if it went to fully funding, changing the ratio. I was a part-time instructor at RCC and College of the Desert and Valley College, and I know personally, and so therefore I'm happy to put the bills forward Dr. Weber, to give office hours to make sure that seniority is used in hiring of part-time faculty. Right now, my staff person left to go to RCC to talk with part-time faculty. That's where she left. That's where she is right now. We would not have a community college system if it were not for part-time faculty. And at the same time, for all those different reasons, they don't feel like faculty. They don't have office hours. They may not have health benefits. They can't serve on committees. Even things like not being included in graduation exercises. So we need to do more, and we are hearing the needs for doing more. There's lots of stuff here, and I will also point out that we are hearing some things here that we don't hear in Sacramento, and therefore the importance of being here on the ground, on the campus, hearing from you directly.
Agreed, and just want to thank the panelists for all of your suggestions, many of which necessitate more funding, which I think we're all aligned on the need for, some of which that don't, which is also very helpful to have, and hopefully we can implement some of them. I'll just quickly align my thoughts with my colleagues' comments, and want to thank you all so much for participating today. Will you please give a round of applause?
Thank you.
And our next panel is going to be the needs of student services staff. I'd like to welcome Dr. James Todd, Vice President of Student Services, Modesto Junior College, and Jose Aguilar, Director of Financial Aid at the University of California, Riverside. Unfortunately, Dr. Bridget Driscoll from CSU Dominguez Hills wasn't able to make it today, but I'm sure we'll have a great panel with our two panelists. Thank you very much.
Easier? All right. Good. Okay. All right. Okay. We're good. We're good.
So why don't we kick it off with Dr. Todd, whenever you're ready. And if we could get folks, if they have any conversations, to maybe take those upstairs, that would be great, because we're going to continue with the hearing.
Is this on?
We're only half an hour late.
Well, thank you for having me. Wonderful discussion so far. I think what's also important to acknowledge is our commitment that's been up here on every panel so far to equity and diversity across our institutions, and I thinking more comprehensively about student success. My comments today are also kind of driven out of the conversations we have locally as especially chief student services officers in the California Community College system on what are our frustrations from staff in helping students succeed. We're the highest, we're the largest in the world in terms of a system of higher education, and we serve the top 100% of people in California. And I think that that's an important statistic for us to think about. That means we are serving students that are inside K-12 system through our concurrent enrollment. We are working on formerly incarcerated and system-affected individuals. We work with folks that are homeless, that are often in very dire circumstances in terms of their social life. So the question that we have in front of us is, how do we best move from a system broadly based on access and enrollment towards a success-driven model, and one that's focused on addressing equity? And I think as well, because we have the systems here, how do we have a more global intersegmental approach across student support systems, because it's needed in terms of building a more structured and intentional pipelines for students. There is frustration on how do we move our students from our system as California community colleges into the UCs and to the CSUs, and especially in terms of capacity. We need to think about building capacity on professional development on local campuses, not just to know why we need to change, but how to affect change at scale, especially in areas of integrated student support. So I have 4 main points I'm going to focus on today. The first one is about our own transformational demands ahead of us as a California community college system, which means that we need infrastructure, tools, support, and training for organizational change. In this era of guided pathways, which I think is moving us in the right direction in terms of alignment, and transformational work on community college campuses, as we rethink about how students move through our colleges, there's great need to retrain and restructure organizations. And in particular, the challenges involve retraining and reclassifying many classified professionals and student support staff in order to align and restructure institutions and models that best support degree and certificate attainment, as well as transfer and career entry. So we need systemic approaches to helping colleges retrain staff, including professional development programs in the pursuit of student success and equity. For example, we're already a Hispanic or Latinx supporting system, above 40%, I think it's 42% at the particular moment. How do we actually have professional developments to help colleges learn not to be Hispanic enrolled institutions, but Hispanic serving institutions? That kind of professional development is really needed across our staff and student support. And how can they best recognize barriers for students and modify our practices locally? Second of all, we need statewide technology, including cross-system technology, and tools are needed to support integrated planning, program navigation for students, data sharing, and tracking. Examples can include electronic catalogs that integrate with curriculum, data dashboards that can track students and their educational plan progress from community colleges to universities, refined websites for efficient educational planning and career goal setting, infrastructure for prior learning assessment, programs for online counseling and academic advising, and technology for just-in-time support that is integrated with instructional efforts. So leading transformational change requires specific skills in communication and the effective use of data and implementation beyond the discussions of why the framework matters. And California community colleges and their student support staff broadly need shared models that can be adapted to their individual institutions. The second broad point I'd like to talk about are having clear structural pathways from community colleges to California state universities and the University of California, with an emphasis on building capacity for local guaranteed admission and a pipeline of degree attainment. And this is a frustration for many of us. We have, those of you that have seen the data from community colleges that move into the university system, many of our graduates are doing much better than those that start at the CSUs or the UCs once they transfer. And so given the large population of the students and the social net that we provide, how can we have more capacity? It's a very important point for our staff that are trying to move students through and have real effects in their lives. So while the associate degrees for transfer have provided a pathway, and guided pathways is really helping us in this effort, many problems remain in terms of alignment, articulation, and providing a true efficient pipeline for students who could benefit from attending community college with a guaranteed entry into a local CSU or UC. I will say this, that I have a 20 percentage point gap at my institution in terms of underrepresented students that have traditionally not been able to transfer due to not having a local guarantee at the institution down the street. And I will say that if we are able to market to students that are in the K-12, when we are doing outreach and student services and say, if you get these degrees at your local community college, you are guaranteed entry into a CSU or UC that is local, that will change for families and it will change for students. So intensive amounts of labor are provided by student support staff and counselors in terms of curricular mapping across systems and educational planning, yet many students still end up with a less than seamless experience when transferring to institutions due to a lack of intersegmental agreement. So recommendations include intensive branding of a statewide pipeline of success from community colleges to the CSU and the UC, a reconceptualization of the articulation process, including broad intersegmental professional development, engendering an infrastructure that promotes more community college lower division enrollments and more capacity in the CSU and UCs for upper division courses, technological infrastructure for statewide cross-system educational planning, and guaranteed entry into local universities. Third point I would like to make is about redesigning the support for effective advising at scale. We're talking about institutions. I'm a medium-sized community college. We serve 24,000 students on an annual basis in terms of our head count. There are many that are much higher, and there is a lot of capacity that's needed in terms of advising students. There's a great need to provide effective advising at scale. Currently, counselors provide educational planning at California community colleges, including academic, personal, and career counseling. And now counselors are being asked to complete more transfers and career services given the vision for success that we have from our chancellor's office, which I think is a great initiative. But many colleges have counselors to student ratios of 1 to over 1,000. And the system is not currently designed to perform counseling services at scale. Funding and hiring counselors is extremely difficult on campuses with the structure of the 50% law. So either more funding for counselors is needed, or structural changes may need to occur that could enable the California community colleges to collaboratively rethink forms of academic advising in order to meet the needs of all students. There are academic advising models using systems outside of California and in-state systems like UC or CSU. Additionally, student-centered educational planning for students moving through systems, as well as appropriate intersegmental technology, may warrant investigation and investment. The last point is this: we need more increased funding to holistically meet student needs. Given the students that we serve across all of our institutions, and when you look at a map of where they are serving students, you can tell that we have incredible diversity and need for local populations. The open access mission of the California community colleges is complex and requires a connectedness of programs and services and an agenda of serving our most in-need students holistically. In order to achieve successful completion of students' educational goals, the system needs clear financial and structural support for all students, including mental health, health services, basic needs, including addressing food insecurities, transportation issues, and housing insecurities, disability services, and increased services for disproportionately impacted populations. To effectively serve high-need students and increase completion rates, perhaps the student needs a funding model that supports additional classified personnel and also faculty advising duties in addition to teaching loads. We need funding for instructional support services such as tutoring and supplemental instruction, which is very difficult for us to get inside of the current budget structures that we have. The difficulty remains to effectively assess, address, and intentionally intervene and follow up with students as they enter and move through the college system in holistic ways. So funding community colleges and per student in ways that address parity across the systems and meet the needs of our students in terms of instruction and support is imperative.
Thank you very much, Dr. Todd. Mr. Aguilar.
Good afternoon, Chairman Berman, committee members, and guests. My name is Jose Aguilar, and I'm the Director of Financial Aid at the University of California at Riverside. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony to the Assembly Committee, a select committee on the Master Plan for Higher Education in California. In 1960, our state developed a visionary plan for the future of higher education known as the Master Plan. Much has changed in California during the ensuing decades. Population growth, increased diversity, change in leading industries and their need for talent, as well as innovations in technology and the field of education itself. My understanding of the Master Plan is that it can be compared to a three-legged stool. One leg represents the Community college system. One leg represents the CSU system, and the one leg represents the UC system. All three legs support and hold the seat portion of the stool. Students seeking a degree are in need of that seat. In my opinion, that seat of the stool represents the support services that students deserve and require to succeed in attaining a degree. Examples of these services are academic support services, admissions, financial aid, career and enrichment services, housing, food and social safety nets programs, health and mental health services, access to technology, and many more services that extend beyond the direct teaching and research mission offered by the university. The University of California is the largest research university state in the world, with more than 264,000 matriculated students, 165,000 faculty and staff, and about 1.8 million living alumni. It includes 10 campuses, 5 medical centers, and 3 affiliated national laboratories. UC remains committed to carrying out its research, education, healthcare, and public service missions. Strengthening the programs and support through the master plan for higher education will allow the university to continue to thrive and serve as an economic engine for California and the nation. State funding is key and critical to ensure adequate services are provided to our growing student population. At UCR alone, we receive more than 60,000 undergraduate freshmen and transfer applications for every year to fill approximately 6,500 seats. These 6,500 seats join UCR's continuing student population to comprise a total population of approximately 23,300 students. This total enrolled population steadily increases year after year, depending on institutional targets and student acceptances. For example, 10 years ago, the total enrolled population at UCR was approximately 18,000 students. That equates to about 30% increase in enrolled students in the last decade. Increases to staffing have not kept up to the student growth levels. For example, just alone in my financial aid office, we had a staff of 28 full-time employees to serve the students of the 23,000 students. When compared to the staff 10 years ago, that translates to a 16% increase in staff over the 10 years. Of the 28 staff members, 9 are designated as financial aid counselors who are able to serve our total student population, which has a complex and unique financial circumstances. This translates to a 2,600 to 1 student to financial aid counselor ratio. 10 years ago, at 8 financial aid counselors available to serve 18,000 students, that ratio was 2,260. Still high, but in looking at that and doing the comparison, there's the student to financial aid counselor ratio increased by 340 students. We are regularly asked to do more with less, and oftentimes result in staff working overtime to meet the demands of our students. Excess overtime often causes staff burnout that then leads to staff turnover. The challenge is not unique to UCR. I regularly meet with other UC financial aid directors to collaborate on various topics and issues related to financial aid. At these meetings, we have discussed staffing needs on various occasions, and we all recognize that we're severely understaffed to meet the needs of our respective student bodies. Furthermore, I would like to acknowledge that this is also a challenge in other departments within the university. It is not a challenge unique to the financial aid offices. In addition to adequate staffing, we also need to ensure that staff are adequately compensated. Staff salaries must be competitive with the private sector. Oftentimes, I lose well-trained and talented staff to other institutions due to low salaries. Adequate facilities, supportive services, and healthy work environments also contribute to a staff member's overall job satisfaction, which translates to improved customer service to our campus community. Professional development is also a key factor in assisting staff in the continuous process of acquiring new knowledge and skills that relate to their profession, job responsibilities, or work environment. Institutions of higher education need technological tools to remain competitive and provide more self-service venues to students. These tools should mitigate high-volume phone calls and office visits. For example, enhanced phone systems and web tools would regularly benefit students and prevent them from waiting on hold for 30 to 60 minutes at a time for a customer service representative to be available during high peak times. Understanding the challenges and opportunities that staff face is also important. UC recently conducted a staff engagement survey which has helped UCR identify areas of strength, positive working relationships and communications with supervisors, and areas of attention, for example, workload and change management. As an institution, it is vital for us to collaborate with staff to develop solutions and value their respective perspective in improving efficiencies of our system. My recommendation to the committee is that the master plan ensure the state provide adequate funding and resources for staff to support student growth, increase capacity, and address deteriorating infrastructure such as technology at our existing campuses. Today's students deserve the same quality education as in past generations of Californians. As we continue to expand enrollment, we must provide students and staff with the classrooms, the laboratories, the libraries, and the living and learning spaces they need to thrive and succeed. And we must recognize that every faculty and staff member plays an important role in advancing UC mission of education, research, and public service. Thank you for the opportunity to provide my perspective and associated recommendations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Aguilar. I'll start. This is our fourth hearing, as I mentioned at the start, and the last hearing that we had was on student needs and student services, really. And it made me appreciate so much more the role that our student services staff and the whole college or university ecosystem, the importance of that ecosystem to student success. And investment in student staff services is so critical for today's students, especially as so many more are facing challenges of food insecurity and homelessness and lack of access to the mental health services that they need. And it's really just been eye-opening for me, hearing these stories from students that we have over the past, I've only been in the legislature for a year and a half, but Chair Medina's been there for longer. It makes me appreciate the need for more investment. You both answered a lot of the questions that I had, but I guess one that I'd ask is, what's one thing that you wish our colleagues understood about student services staff when we're crafting policy for our higher education system for the next couple generations?
Well, myself, I think we're going through an immense amount of change at our institutions, and some of the question that's asked is, for so long, what we have done is fill our classes with enrollment. We've also waited for students many times to show up to find places on campus to get support, and there's been a real shift, I think, in the last 3 to 5 years about thinking about how we intentionally go after and work with students in new ways. And that has been largely an effort that's around equity, thinking about how different populations of students are doing on our campuses. And so this change from moving from enrollment to success as the focus of our colleges, it might sound like that's what it's not that we weren't doing that all along, but the way in which we're talking about perhaps being funded has started new conversations on our campuses. So what that leaves us with is decades of the ways in which we have run personnel and have had staff in particular locations on our campus. And this means major transformational change for our local institutions. And how do we best provide knowledge about how to serve students better, knowledge about how to best work on equity, and inclusivity on our campuses? How do we best work with parents and families? How do we best serve now a much more emergent workforce and adult learners that are trying to access our campuses? It means really restructuring our student support services. So the kinds of funding and the kinds of attention that I think that administration and support staff need are developing models that can be effectively used at campuses and to have broad conversations about what does it mean to transform on a campus, right? And how are we going to do that better? And we can't, it's interesting, we have 3 silos on these panels, and we need to think too about how do we work across our systems, right? Not just how are we going to intentionally do it on our campus, but how are we going to provide students with systems of technology and technology for our institutions so that students can think about point A to point Z ending at a UC or ending at a CSU so they can see their entire educational plan, and it needs to be seamless, and we need to develop processes and ways for students to move through our institutions easily. Yeah. So there's a lot of transformational change, and money needs to be funded towards that over the next at least 3 to 5 years as we transition.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the comments. And also, one of the things that we need to recognize as well is that as we, in terms of services, as we grow more, as the student enrollment grows, there are more services required other than the core services that we have provided in the past. For example, mental health, and some of the initiatives that you had mentioned, as well as the basic needs of our students. So all of those resources, we need to include that when we're having those discussions as far as policy, and also look at policy that is preventing from us moving forward to service the students adequately. Sometimes we're more wrapped up in meeting the compliance and the policy requirements from the state and as well as from the federal government that we tend to lose the offering that's customer service to the student that they really need. And when a student comes to my office, for example, when they come out of high school, they don't come out with the high school with financial aid education, and it's something new to the university or to the student and the family. And when you look at each complex financial circumstance that the student finds themselves, we need to provide that level of service that way they feel comfortable and they feel empowered to make the decision to come to the university and looking at the future expense that they have in front of them.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate both your comments, and I know Dr. Driscoll from CSU Dominguez Hills couldn't be here, so I'll just say that, and I think, Chairman Medina, you might have been with me, we took a tour of CSU Dominguez Hills, and they were talking about some of this proactive outreach that they do, and using technology to identify when there are red flags for a student, and seeing that when it happens, and then providing that student with a little supplemental service, a little supplemental help at that point, rather than waiting until it gets worse and they're at risk of dropping out. So, using technology to identify, when a student is struggling and what additional support can be provided for them can save a lot of money and time and heartache down the road, and it's something that we really need to, try to get better at doing. So.
And the technological infrastructure for this is really important, where we're going to gain more efficiency and be more transparent with students. And I think the global intersegmental approach, again, is important to think about what does that pipeline look like and how are we going to get back to an idea that we have 114 community colleges all over California that are serving students that also need to figure out how they're going to move through and finish their bachelor's degrees.
Absolutely. Nope. Well, with that, please thank the panel. Thank you very much. And our last panel of the hearing is going to be the needs of staff from a union perspective. I'd like to welcome Bill Rawlings, Computer Facilities Coordinator and Chair of Community College Committee at the California School Employees Association. Vicki Mcleod, Budget Specialist and Vice Chair of the Legislative Committee at the CSU, at the California State University Employees Union, and Christine Stuckey, Senior Custodian, AFSCME Local 3299 Representative. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Bill, if you want to kick us off.
Sure thing. Good morning, Chairman and members. My name is Bill Rawlings. I'm a member of the California Community Colleges Board of Governors, and I've been a classified employee at Mount San Antonio College for almost 20 years. I'm here representing the California School Employees Association, CSEA. CSEA represents over 240,000 classified employees at our public schools and colleges, and I am the chair of the CSEA Community College Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to share our thoughts and perspective on how to make our higher education system better. Specifically, I was asked to focus on the needs of classified staff in 3 areas. So first, what do we need to better support students? Classified employees are the extraordinary workers who do the essential work to keep our colleges and universities clean, safe, and functional. We make sure that every student, faculty, administrator, and visitor have an enjoyable and effective learning environment to pursue their academic, career, and life goals. Like any profession, better pay helps to recruit and retain better professionals, and more staffing will ensure that additional vital services can be provided adequately to meet the needs of students. From the moment that a student first ventures onto campus to the day that they graduate, classified employees are involved in all aspects of their higher education journey. In colleges and universities, students need many services to succeed. Having more school employees on campus means being able to deliver more services to students, including more financial aid services, more residential services, counseling, tutoring, healthcare, information technology support, campus safety, job placement services, just to name a few. But the number one issue that our members repeatedly ask for is to get more training and ongoing professional development. I think this is a theme we've heard a bit today. In this ever-changing world, we want and need training and professional development to continuously upgrade our skills and learn best practices to meet the changing needs of students and faculty. Technological innovations, increases in social media and communication, curriculum reforms, as well as other risks and danger require us to update our skills and keep up with the changing times. For example, the implementation of multiple measures for assessment will require many of our academic support staff to adapt to the increase in transfer level students. So without ongoing professional development, we may not have the latest information and skills to adequately address the needs of our students and support their success. Second, what are the challenges and barriers classified staff in meeting the needs of students, and how are these addressed? We need to find a way to stop or minimize the repeated use of short-term and temporary employees who are often minimally trained and skilled as a way to avoid providing health and retirement benefits to employees. Many colleges hire non-permanent classified employees, such as student workers, short-term workers, extended substitutes, and professional experts, in lieu of hiring more permanent classified employees. Certain conditions exist to warrant the use of these temporary and short-term employees to fulfill a limited temporary need. However, the need truly should be limited, and they should not outnumber the number of permanent classified employees. We've seen an unfortunate pattern where some districts have developed the practice of hiring short-term employees for 194 days, laying them off, and then rehiring them for the next fiscal year. This practice is repeated year after year, circumventing the 195 days rule, thereby denying these employees health benefits, leaves, holidays, and all other rights of classified employees. Also, some colleges hire multiple part-time classified employees instead of fewer full-time classified employees in order to avoid paying health insurance benefits and contributing to CalPERS, our public employee retirement system. Some positions may be suitable as part-time positions because of the nature of the work. However, when the work can be done by one person in a full-time position, we would prefer that to happen versus splitting the work between two part-time positions to avoid paying the health benefits. We believe full-time positions encourage classified employees to be more committed to their job, more invested in the outcomes they help produce with our students, and more engaged in the campus culture, thereby promoting a consistent workforce instead of constant turnover. High turnover and multiple vacancies can also contribute to increased workload on the remaining staff, which sometimes results in decreased access and services to students and decreased employee morale. Protecting employee rights and benefits continue to be a potential key barrier and challenge for some of our members. Third, how should the master plan meet the needs of staff? What is one action the state can take that would not require funding, and one action that the state can take that would require funding? There are studies that show that collaboration between labor and management at a K-12 campus leads to better student achievement. Our current state superintendent of public instruction, Tom Torlakson, has done a lot of work in this area through his labor management initiative. It brings together the school board, the faculty and classified unions, and the administration to address budget issues and campus issues. The discussions are not always amicable, but through respect and communication, the results and impact on students are clear. Their grades improve. In some ways, it's almost common sense that when all educators are coordinated in their mission, students benefit. It is this notion of shared governance that I believe will make our colleges and universities better for our students to succeed. In the community colleges, the idea of participatory governance permeates from the state level, from the consultation council, all the way down to the local level in budget committees. I would urge the committee to consider building into the future master plan a call for shared governance between board members, administrators, faculty, and classified staff. It would be important to specifically have the exclusive representative for the workers as a member and participant in the shared governance process. We may all have different viewpoints, but our common goal is the success of our students. Also, including us in the shared governance process has minimal to no financial implications. But what can we do if we had more funding? I would suggest that we go back to look at more full-time staffing, as well as improved pay and benefits, and professional development to retain our hardworking employees. Having dedicated and engaged employees is a necessary investment in our colleges and universities for the direct impact on student success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. Thank you, Bill. Vicki Mcleod?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Assemblymember Berman, for inviting CSUEU here today to represent our employees. Thank you to Assemblymember Medina and also Assemblymember Dr. Weber. I'd like to start off. My name is Vicki. I am here today representing CSU Employees Union. We represent 16,000 employees, and I'm also an employee at Cal State Fullerton. Been there 7 years, and also worked at Cal Poly Pomona for 24. So I've been in the system for over 30 years. The support staff of the CSU are the backbone and brain trust of the university, but we're often overlooked. The first interaction a student experiences when calling or walking into a CSU office is with the staff member. The service provided to students, parents, and the often on-campus community is thorough and embodies a caring characteristic to promote the CSU mission statement of investing in our students to prepare them to enter the community and to contribute to California's future. Many employees have worked at a CSU campus for years. In order to assist students, support staff positions should be fully funded, and employees need to move through the salary range to retain campus workforce. CSUEU is actually sponsoring a bill with Dr. Weber. It's Assembly Bill 1231, and I'll talk about that in a little while. In 2008, employees received furloughs and layoffs followed. Numerous positions have not been filled since then, but the remaining employees continue to assume the duties of the vacant positions. Staff are commonly told to do more with less, and the additional responsibilities of this vacant positions do not include a salary increase. Staff are an important community player and dedicated to serving students. We are the trust that manages important tasks by enrolling students in classes, hiring student workers, keeping our campuses clean, running the front office, handling budgetary, financial, and technology assistance, supporting faculty and administrators, and caring for our students. We share goals to build solutions to better our students. The financial status for many of our employees is grim, and during the furloughs, the task of taking 2 jobs was necessary in order for our employees to make ends meet. Many staff lost their homes. It is important that students, faculty, administrators, and the public know the challenges that staff face. Our dedicated employees treat the CSU campus as their home away from home. The commitment and devotion our staff represent daily is comparable to being a proud parent. I am a proud mother because my student graduated from CSU Fullerton 2 years ago.
All right.
Staff wants students to succeed and accomplish their dream with a degree in higher education. We face many challenges. We wear many hats. Employees, as I mentioned, who've retired, the positions have not been replaced. Accepting additional students and committing to hiring diverse faculty is supported by staff, but our employees tend to not be mentioned. There is a void in addressing the need to increase staff positions. Support staff should be included when dialogue takes place that affects the campus so that employees can continue to serve students productively. Many departments on campus house 1 staff member to assist a large student and faculty population. Support staff are the front line and the first contact a student interacts with when being admitted. We give them guidance. As mentioned earlier, we enroll them in classes, learning the department and faculty and understanding the policies and procedures of each campus. Staff create, organize, collaborate, prioritize responsibilities that guide and monitor students towards their educational success. The master plan and the California's higher education system should take into consideration the knowledge, expertise, longevity, and dedication that staff supply to the CSU campuses. There are employees who have dedicated their career. We encourage family to attend a CSU and we treat the CSU, our employment, as family. CSUU has requested to have a support staff seat on the Board of Trustees. We've done this 3 times through 3 different bills, and it's been vetoed. There is a student, an alumni, and a faculty representative on the Board of Trustees, but no staff delegate. Allowing input from support staff would give the opportunity and insight from a person who works daily and interacts with students to give concerns and issues. As I mentioned earlier, CSU is sponsoring a bill by Dr. Weber as the author. It's AB 1231, and that is to restore salary steps for support staff. This would bring back a 5% increase based on an annual performance evaluation. This was taken away from support staff of the CSU nearly 20 years ago. The bill will reestablish parity with all other state agencies and parity with the 500,000 state employees who already have salary steps. This was heard in the Assembly floor and it was passed, and I want to thank Assemblymember Medina and Berman for voting yes on our bill, and it will be heard on May 9th in the Senate Education Committee. There has been a recent trend of newly hired support staff leaving the CSU due to no movement through the salary range. By not retaining the employees, the duties once again fall on the remaining employees as institutional knowledge and memory. Retention is an issue for our employees, and there is a disservice to our students. There's also an inversion. So many employees who have been there, such as myself, for over 30 years, we have newly employees that are being hired, but hired at a higher salary, and that causes a morale issue among staff. In August 2017, the Joint Legislative Audit Committee, the Assembly Higher Ed Committee, and the Budget Subcommittee on Education held a special hearing to review the state audit of the CSU personnel and budget practices. The audit was released in April of 2017. The audit demonstrated the discrepancy between management personnel and staff positions. The Assembly Higher Ed Committee heard AB 1231 in January 2018, and it was suggested by Senator Roth that the CSU conduct an employment survey to determine if the university is housing the appropriate number of management positions against faculty and staff positions. This survey would determine if the appropriate number of employees are hired to effectively serve our student population. A survey is an action the state can take that may or may not require funding. The universities continue to function to support students as staff are employed 12 months out of the year. We remain on campus once the semester concludes, during December break, spring break, and summer session. We support students Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Many of our employees work overtime to just serve our students. Employees know that our #1 goal is to support students so they have access to an excellent education. It's funny because I just had an event at Cal State Fullerton yesterday regarding our campus master plan, and it was kind of structuring the same talks that are here today as not only on how to serve students, but also our facilities and infrastructure on our campus. So again, I want to thank you for inviting CSU Employees Union today to give our focus and input. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vicki Mcleod. And next up, we have Christine Stuckey.
Yes. Christine Stuckey. I am a union rep from Aspen 3299. I'm here to speak about what we are doing as being a custodian. I'm a resident of Riverside, been living here all my life. One day I was in a program at UCR and I said, I would love to work here. My dream came true. I'm here. And I've been here for 15 years. UC is a beautiful place to work. And we keep it beautiful. The custodian, the yard people, and the cooks that you eat their food. And you know it's good.
I'm hoping to get some after the hearing.
Yes. And I'm here to say that, being a custodian, we're understaffed. We don't have enough equipment to work. We are working with less, but working with make us work with more. We have more buildings to do, but less people to do it with. And the yard people have more work to do and less, to do it with. And we're having problems with our working together, our lifting us up, making sure that, we do a good job for the students. Because to come into a clean bathroom is a good place to be. Yes. And we just want to know that being mistreated, not being appreciated, not being worthy of why we have to work so hard. Because we've been doing this, I've been doing it for 15 years. And it seems like it's not getting any better. It's getting worse. The people don't want to hire us to be supervisor. The blacks and the whites are getting less pulled up instead of being more equally. We're getting less. The upscale is getting worse. We want to be treated as equals. We enjoy doing our job. And instead of taking stuff away from us, like our benefits, our health care, I would love to retire here, but they're making it harder and harder every year. Why do we have to fight every year when we do such a good job cleaning, cooking, and doing the yard? All we ask is to be a playing field, to do it fair. We enjoy working here. You see the campus is looking good, right? Mm-hmm. It takes all of us to do that. And to keep that spirit going, we need to be treated, instead of taking all our benefits, all our health, and the people who are working with me, they're no longer feeling like they're worthy. They're mistreated, they are unhappy, and they want to be treated the way the campus looks. It takes all of us, and all we have to say is, please, support us. Be there behind us. And when you see us working, give us a smile. We work hard.
Yeah.
We want to be treated. And we would like you to stop outsourcing our jobs. I used to work in the kitchen as a caterer and a cook. I don't know none of them people no more. It's just every day coming to work and knowing if I have a job, if I don't, Please, do not outsource our job. Keep us working. Keep us being the campus that you see and the people that you work with. All we ask is give us a playing field fair so we can work. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stuckey. I really appreciate that. And let me just say, Mr. Medina, Chair Medina is constantly bragging about how beautiful UCR is, and that's because of the work that you do. So really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So close to 45 years ago, I drove from Indiana across the U.S., right, to UCR. I transferred from Purdue University to UC Riverside about 45 years ago. I pulled up into the A&I dorm, not too far from here, parked my Volkswagen and went to the front desk, and the first person that I saw was a clerical person. But that woman, who I still remember, her name was Kathy, directed me to a dorm and to a floor that maybe, changed my life, because she saw, that I might have had of interest in being in Casa Hispanica. And so she directed me to that dormitory. When I went to the Department of History or Latin American Studies and I spoke with a secretary, it was the secretary who made sure that I got the classes that I needed and had the units that I needed to graduate on time. I lived in A&I dorm, so the people who prepared the food every day, 3 meals a day, were important to me. That my room was clean. When I walked from A&I to the library, I saw the maintenance, I saw the grounds, kind of perfectly cared for. Sometimes I think as students we may not see, who are the folks who maintain, like you said, the bathrooms and the grass and the classrooms that we sit on. But we recognize in the legislature the important work that you do. We are fighting to make sure that UC does not outsource. I think we had a bill last year that the governor didn't sign, but a similar bill is coming through again. We hope this year gets the governor's signature.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I want to just align my comments with Mr. Medina. Thank you so much for participating in the panel. Thank you so much for all the work that you do every day. Sometimes you might do your job too well because people don't notice how clean it is and how nice it is, but they'll notice when it's not.
Yeah.
So really appreciate all that you do, and thank you for coming and participating in the panel and your advocacy in Sacramento as well. Thank you very much.
I do want to say thank you to your staff, Ellen and Liz, for putting this together and communicating with us. So I know staff are a very important part in everybody's form of work.
I appreciate that. I'll jump that in my planned comments and thank Ellen Green, my legislative director. Elizabeth Schmidt, who's my assembly fellow, who's somewhere. There she is in the back. And I also want to thank Mr. Medina's staff in the district office who helped us with having the hearing at UC Riverside and the staff at UC Riverside.
And I'll just give them a shout out, Tiffany Tran from my office and Carmen Cuevas, who I think is still here.
Yeah, absolutely. We just show up. They did all the work so that this actually happened. So really appreciate that. With that, get one more round of applause for our panel. Thank you. And we're going to take a 2-minute break, and then we're going to go to public comment. So we'll be right back. We got to get the public comment list and transition, but we'll be right back. Thanks.
Yeah. Chris, very nice to meet you. Graduate in 1974. Master's in 84. I quite didn't make the PhD. Hey, so May 7th. You didn't get to hear me, but I started with the strike. I started with talking about the strike. I will have a representative here, and I will be at Davis. Professor? Which UC are you at? Whoa, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we want to make sure that we do the right thing this year. Let me.
And I worked with Gail Roberts
Oh,
and Tripp
yes.
Chatham.
I was at the NAACP dinner last night.
Oh, yeah.
It was a beautiful dinner.
Yeah,
Beautiful dinner.
it was nice. Thank you.
Didn't distinguish clearly enough between these two different programs.
We had a hearing.
Yes.
We had a hearing on the 17th yesterday, this week. This program, which we put in about $2 million. This one? Okay. Yes. And this year it goes down to $1 million. Okay.
Bigger and better.
Yeah. The editorial that was excellent. It's online. It says because the UCLA students it's not an English, it's about the students.
Actually, you see so yeah, this program is still okay. That's it's being built.
But I can have it. And instead of defunding them, we should fund them more. But it's hard to do. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Unfortunately, the direction that we've been in the last 20-some years, we've never had a. Thank you for coming. I think you see, especially we are. Otherwise, you take off the University of California. And I enjoy the time that I get to spend with UCLA.
Given that we're
from the state. Yes, and science.
Yeah, we caught up a little bit.
No.
Jose, I'm going to steal your cookies if you keep talking.
Thank you for this.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Oh, here, get in the middle. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Thanks again.
Oh, well, am I in the wrong place?
No, you're in the right place. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good. Yeah.
Yeah,
you sure can. We should. Why don't we stand here?
Sure. Yeah. Come on in. Please. No, you go. And we're back. And I've learned that I'm going to apologize in advance for butchering anybody's name. Either that or I'm going to blame it on your handwriting. So we're going to start with, I have terrible handwriting. We're going to start with Brian Ha from CFT. And we have, I think, about 20 folks for public comment. So if you can keep your comments to 2 minutes or less, that would be very appreciated. Thank you very much.
I'll try to keep it less than that. Thank you. My name is Brian Ha with the California Federation of Teachers. Thank you, committee chair, members, staff. You guys put together another fantastic hearing. Really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you guys having our 2-star panelists from the California Federation of Teacher Union, Mia McIver and Jonathan Mcleod. And Mr. Medina, you're absolutely correct about the online college and funding formula proposal without any faculty input. We're trying to address student success. We know a thing or two about student success because we teach our students, but yet proposals after proposals, policies after policies, during the formulation process, we are not invited to the table. They don't get any input from us. This is why these policies don't last. There's all kinds of problems, as you can imagine. And I can go on for 2 hours talking about those 2 proposals, but I won't. And lastly, CSU EU folk is here. AB 1231, CFT, we're in strong support of that bill. It's a very good bill. And lastly, I want to introduce my nephew, Jonathan Montano. He's a former Air Force commando, served on multiple tours overseas, and got a full ride to Loma Linda University after his service. So he's one of the students that master plan don't really have to take care of, because he took care of himself.
He took care of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and if you're wondering where he gets the good look, it's actually from my wife. So I love this guy. You know, he served the country. He's the epitome of the perfect, perfect student. And please help me wish him a good luck for his future endeavors.
Yeah, thank you for your service. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Adam Wetzman from FACCC, followed by Audrey Baca.
Thank you. My name is Adam Wetzman. I'm the president of the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges, the 11,000-member professional membership association that advocates for all faculty at the community colleges, both full-time and part-time. I want to endorse what my colleague Julie Bruno said. If we do want to move the metrics when it comes to student success, we need to increase the number of full-time faculty. If we want to move those metrics, we need to increase the professionalization of part-time faculty, which includes office hours. I want to thank Assemblymember Medina for, again, sponsoring a bill relating to office hours. We think that's going to pass, but we'll see if it gets signed. If we want to increase those metrics, we also need to ensure that part-time faculty have access to health care and good wages and rehire rights. So we need to do all of those things. If we do want to move those metrics, then we need to engage faculty and staff at the beginning of the conversation instead of at the end of the conversation. We have been initiatived to death with one after the other. Our heads are constantly spinning around, and before we can even determine whether or not one initiative has achieved its goal, we have another one, and sometimes the old ones get thrown out. So we need to engage faculty and staff at the conversations all the time to see if they are going to achieve the goals that we want them to achieve. We endorse the idea of changing professional development funding so that it's either a categorical program or something that is required by the colleges to spend a certain percentage, as articulated by Julie Bruno. Also, FAC and all the faculty organizations, and I'm sure the staff organizations as well, are ready to support the Select Committee on crafting policy for the future of the community colleges. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. And this is like a pumped up crowd. We've had more applause in this hearing than any hearing we've had yet. Audrey Baca from CSUSB, followed by Thomas Vu from AICCU.
So thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for listening to the voices. And I'm just going to quote Christine Stuckey, as she mentioned, it takes all of us. And it's important to be listening to the voices, as you mentioned, up in Sacramento, that maybe not as much diversity or as many of these conversations have happened up there. So please keep these voices central to your considerations when you're making these decisions, and to also just not be thinking of 2018, but as we all know, in 1960, it was supposed to be a 15-year master plan, thinking of the 15 to 30 years of the world that we would like to see. I would also just ask that you consider that part-time adjunct faculty as members of just as the previous gentleman had mentioned, consider part-time, we need more full-time. It is a full-time job educating these students, and we need to prioritize the diverse individuals that teach our students because our student populations are diverse. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Audrey. And next up, we have Thomas Vu, followed by Michelle Canu.
Good afternoon, Chair Berman and Mr. Medina. My name is Thomas Vu. I'm with the Association of Independent California Colleges and Universities. We are the organizational voice for now 80 private nonprofit colleges and universities throughout the state, including locally here, Cal Baptist University and La Sierra University. The private nonprofit sector has long been a part of the master plan since its drafting in 1960, and also we were integral in the creation of the Cal Grant program back in 1955. We continue to have a large role in creating student access and opportunities, especially for transfer students and low-income students. In regards to professional development and faculty diversity, many private nonprofits have substantive faculty diversity programs, And this is important to point out because the private nonprofit sector educates 56% of graduate students in the state. That's more than the CSU and UC combined. These include master's programs, PhD programs, and professional degrees as well. As such, we have a large role in educating the next generation of professors that end up teaching at a community college, either the UC or a CSU. Or also work in low socioeconomic communities that need mental health providers and other healthcare providers. And this is a responsibility that we take very seriously. And we believe that to strengthen these efforts and to strengthen that pipeline that has been referred to in previous panels, from high school to undergraduate to graduate school, for students from underserved communities. And the state needs to fully fund the Cal Grant program for students from low-income families that need the chance to attend, that have the choice to attend a private nonprofit college or university or a public institution. And while we appreciate definitely halting the cuts over the last several years, we hope that we can continue to grow the award in the next few years. Second, we also need to strengthen and demystify the transfer process, as has been mentioned before. AICCU is finalizing some budget language with the Department of Finance and finalizing an MOU with the California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office to articulate the associate degree for transfer to a private nonprofit college or university, and your support of those efforts would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. And let me just quickly say, someone earlier used a helpful metaphor of a three-legged stool. I want to say it's really more like a four-legged chair, because our independent colleges and universities are a critical partner for all of us in making sure that all Californians get a higher education, high-quality higher education. Michelle Canoe, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Michelle Canoe, and I'm with Blue Educational Foundation. We're based in San Bernardino County, working a lot in San Bernardino schools. I just want to reiterate to you, because our organization works very closely with students of color, low-income students, students who often don't have the opportunity to step foot on the Cal State campuses and the UC campuses until we actually take them. And I wanted to reiterate the value that those support staff offer on the community colleges, as well as on the CSUs and the UC campuses, and particularly when those individuals are people of color, how much it does to encourage them to want to continue to pursue higher education. And then once they're there, how much it really encourages them to stay and to eventually graduate. So I just wanted to reiterate the real value of that from the K through 12 end for the organizations, those of us working with those students who are really trying to get onto these campuses. And in the long run, that really benefits the state of California, as the goal is to eventually graduate more of these students and contribute to a diverse and well-trained workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And next up, we have Carla Arbaji from the Librarians Association of University of California, followed by Jonathan Hughes.
Hi, thank you. I'm Carla Arbaji, and I am the president of the Librarians Association of the University of California, which is the professional association for all UC librarians. I'm also a librarian here at UC Riverside and an alumna of UCR and San Jose State University. I wanted to talk to you about the importance of libraries and librarians in supporting our students, faculty, and staff. Libraries in higher education are not just about providing access to the world's knowledge, but about knowledge creation. Libraries and librarians are not just about what we offer to our patrons, but what we do for them to realize their goals, whether it be completing a program or degree, discovering new insights and innovations, designing cutting-edge research, or even becoming a Nobel laureate. We offer the transformative services, programs, and expertise to make these things happen. Librarians, now more than ever, are looking beyond their traditional roles and providing greater opportunities for education, exploration, entrepreneurship, empowerment, and engagement. Therefore, I hope that this committee will take into account the crucial role that libraries and librarians play in advancing the ideals of public higher education in California. We are the hearts of our universities and colleges. I hope that in your review of the master plan, you will ensure that libraries remain an essential and well-supported component of California's institutions of higher education. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Next up, we have Jonathan Hughes, followed by Catherine Cobb.
Thank you so much, Chair Berman and Assemblymember Medina. Jonathan Hughes, representing Azusa Pacific University, one of the many independent California colleges and universities. We're proud that we've been part of the master plan since its formation in 1960, providing an additional choice for students for whom an independent school may be the best choice for their particular needs. APU has 8 Southern California locations and over 10,000 students, and we're really grateful, I can say honestly, for the relationships we have with many of our public partners in higher education, particularly the CCC. We have Citrus College right next door. We work closely with Pasadena City College, Mount San Antonio College, Victor Valley College up in the high desert, and many others, so that's just to name a few. I think a theme definitely today during our conversation has been the changing demographics of California's higher ed landscape. And I'm proud to say that at APU, there was mention earlier to local guaranteed admission partnerships. And at APU, just in the last year or two, we've signed 15 partnerships with our local K-12 districts. And we're more reflective than ever of the demographics of our local community and the broader state of California. And just to mention a few of the many programs we have for our faculty and staff when it comes to engaging these students from all these diverse backgrounds. We have just in the last few months had trainings for our staff and faculty around engaging with undocumented students, first generation programming. Proud to say that our freshman class this year, 44% of them are the first in their family to go to college. We have a diversity ambassador program that's a training that's held all year round for our faculty and staff on engaging these students and faculty from different backgrounds. Over 50% of our students come from ethnic minority backgrounds, as well as LGBTQ trainings and veteran and military connected families. We have over 500 students that identify that way. And last but not least, we're a strengths-based campus, and so we employ a strengths-based approach, not only with our faculty and staff professional development, but that then empowers them to interact with students and lean into their strengths. We're a Hispanic-serving institution, one of only 3 private Christian universities that have that designation here in California. And anyway, just wanted to mention those few programs we have to support our students, and thank you for your advocacy for the higher ed master plan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Next up, we have Catherine Cobb from Teamsters 2010, followed by Josefina Canchola from the Puente Project.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Cobb, president of Teamsters Local 2010, where we have 14,000 members, and we deal with higher education as well as skilled trade. Our union believes that CSU and UC should be a source of good jobs and good education for California, and this should be central to our master plan. Of key importance to workers' health and safety is deferred maintenance. CSU and UC currently have $2 billion as well as $8 billion respectively in deferred maintenance projects following years of underfunding. Our skilled trade members at CSU and UC are tasked with maintaining facilities, so they know better than anyone the health and safety risks that these growing backlogs pose to themselves, students, and faculty. You know, Governor Brown proposed and also rejected $50 million for CSU and $35 million for UC and a one-time funding to address their deferred maintenance backlogs. But at the same time, Governor Brown did propose $275 million to address deferred maintenance at California community colleges. And now addressing critical facilities maintenance needs should be a priority for all parts of California, higher education, and not just community colleges. The governor's proposal continues a pattern of underfunding that leads to larger deferred maintenance backlogs and too few staff to address the maintenance needs. Together, these issues can continue to outsource, which is a problem here in California when projects become too expensive or dangerous to put off. We have seen that outsourcing undermines good jobs by bringing in contractors who pay their workers little wages and provide fewer benefits. And in summary, the California legislators must take initiative to ensure that the CSU and UC are adequately funded to meet their responsibilities under the master plan while increasing accountability of the UCs to be a source of good jobs and education. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Josefina Canchola, followed by Andrew Alonso.
Yes, good afternoon, honorable members. My name is Josefina Canchola, Associate Director of Partnerships for the Puente Project with UC Berkeley and a proud UCR alumna. Puente is a program that has a 35-year history of success serving California's first-generation underserved students and academically preparing them to not just reach, but also achieve higher education. Puente has proven to create strong, prepared, and academically successful students. Our data proves our program success. What we need is simple. We need additional funding. Some would say, show me the money. We currently have less than $3 million in program funding, and with these limited funds, we serve over 14,000 middle school, high school, and community college students from low-income communities from throughout the state. Puente does what some would call true miracles with our limited resources. But we can and are prepared to do more with adequate funding. Assemblymember Reyes just submitted a request for $6 million augmentation to our budget. We hope you can support this request. There is no need to reinvent the wheel. Support Puente that has a proven 35-year history of student success. Our work supports the master plan by creating educational equity for underserved students that may not otherwise pursue or achieve higher education, therefore making higher education available for all students and not just those that are born into social and economic privilege. We bridge our students into becoming future successful college graduates and professionals for California. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josefina. Next up, we have Andrew Alonso, followed by Travis Traber. Is Andrew paging once, paging twice? Sold. Travis, you're up.
Hi, thank you. My name is Travis Traber. I'm here with the Riverside County Democratic Party as well as the Riverside County Young Democrats, both of which supported the $48 fix, now known as the $66 fix, which would return historic funding to the UC, CSU, and CCC system, as well as decrease privatization, which would allow students and faculty to get the resources that they need to be successful. A little bit about myself. I'm actually currently a community college student at Mount San Jacinto Community College, right down the way. And I have to say that, a little bit about me. I've been in California my entire life. I went to California public schools. In high school, I shouldn't have graduated high school. It was one or two homework assignments away from not graduating. And California community colleges have given me a second chance for my education. So I've gone there and succeeded, but it wasn't just because of my quote-unquote hard work. College campuses are an ecosystem when we really think about it. It's the custodian to the faculty to the student to the librarian. And really, the faculty and the students need these resources. This is what we really need, because I can't say that right now. I'm actually graduating this semester. It's been a long 2 years. So, thank you. When I came into the system, though, I was placed in remedial math, remedial English. I came in that. I had to take math 55, 90, 96, 140, and all through all that. And it wasn't because of me. There was definite times of me thinking of dropping out and just saying, look, there's a lot of other things to do. There's a lot of other pathways in life to take. But it was the professors that kept me in it. It was because of things like office hours that I was able to not only talk to them about my education, but my personal things that were going on within my life. So it was really professors that enabled me to do this. And so by denying faculty and students resources, we are not only denying ourselves from greater heights, but we're denying our state and overall our country from reaching a better generation. We're doing a lot to where we could empower generations for much, much larger than just 2018. We could go on for years. So we need a vision and a pathway towards the future to empower the rest of Californians, not just now, but for a long period of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Next up, we have Chris Chase Dunn, followed by Jan Muto.
Thanks. I'm a professor of sociology here at UC Riverside, and I'm a member of the Riverside Faculty Association, and I was been asked by the Council of University Faculty Associations of the UC system to come and basically endorse and tell you about this 66fix.org proposal that Travis just mentioned, and some of you have that in your things, but if others want to look at it. Basically, it's a proposal for how the state can fund free public education in California and roll back what's been happening since 1978 when Proposition 13 happened. And there are different possible ways to fund this: income tax, estate tax, and so on. But basically the idea here is there's an opportunity for us in California to have a new deal and a new master plan, and to get people in the citizens of California to support that. It may take a referendum, but we think there's an opportunity for this to happen in the next few years, and so we support all the efforts that our assemblymen are making in the state government right now. But we think there's a big opportunity in the state of California to do public education right and to keep this public education system, which is the best one in the world, as good as it has been, and make it work for the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor. Next, we have Jan Muto, and I apologize if I got that.
No, you were perfect.
Perfect. Followed by Jonathan Aboud.
Thank you, Mr. Berman and Mr. Medina, for this opportunity. My name is Jan Muto. I'm an associate professor at Norco College, but I'm also here representing the California Community College Association, which is the higher ed branch of CTA-NEA. I sit on the board as the director of District K, which is essentially Riverside Community College District. But I really want to speak in pretty broad terms about my own perspective, being a former administrator as well as a community college professor. I think the comments of the panelists were so relevant, but I want to kind of parse them into three areas. One is what I would call a pipeline of discrimination. And that really is that notion of chicken and egg. But it is fueled by, in my opinion, an academic elitism, where we do, in fact, in the profession of higher ed, seek people who are like ourselves. And that is white men who have dominated higher education in this country. And I'll point this out by an example, a very real example, a person that I know very well, that Mr. Medina knows very well, who's taught at a college part-time for 14 years. This woman happens to be Latina. She also happens to be a member of the LGBTQ community, and she also happens to be over the age of 55. She was a member of a candidate in a pool for a full-time job at a community college, and was chosen. The chosen candidate was a white male who'd only been teaching for 5 years, who had a PhD in hand. As you probably know, a PhD does not necessarily make a great community college teacher, even though I am one.
You're the exception.
I'm the exception, of course. Another thing I would like you to bear in mind as you work on the master plan is a group that I have not heard mentioned today that often is silent, and that is the LGBTQ community. We've heard a lot about diversity in terms of race. We've heard some about diversity in socioeconomic class, but I have not heard one person today talk about the LGBTQ population. Approximately 30% of high school graduates identify as a member of that population, so that is crucially important to who we are. And at my college, one of the things I did was help convince our administration to establish a safe zone, but we partnered with the DACA students because we recognize that both populations fear for their safety, their physical safety. So the students call it the Unity Zone. It would be wonderful to be able to, for every college in this state, college and university, to be able to have such a space. There are currently only 7 LGBT Pride centers in the state at the community colleges. Finally, I'd like to address what I would consider the corporatization of education. And that comes not just in the form of the corporations that sponsor grants, but it really comes from our community colleges being underfunded and having to chase dollars. So what they're doing is they're partnering in very kind of haphazard ways sometimes with grant bodies, but also with private industry to seek funds. So in short, a fully funded 3-tier system of higher education helps us and it helps all of our students, all of our community members, including undocumented students, homeless students, and LGBTQ2. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Next, we have Jonathan Aboud, followed by Fred Sanchez.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Aboud. And the master plan is my favorite piece of public policy since I was 18. I am the vice president of the Santa Barbara City College Board of Trustees. I am a partner of the Reclaim California Higher Education Coalition, former student body president of UC Santa Barbara. Currently, I'm a grad student and TA in technology management at UCSB, and I plan to strike on Tuesday with AFSCME. So I'm going to ask the audience a few questions. I'm going to give you the first answer, but I think you guys will get the second too. So what do faculty need? A fully funded UC, CSU, and CC. So what do staff need? Fully funded UC, CSU, and CC. And what do students need? A fully funded UC, CSU, and CC. When I was applying to UC in 2009, the regents, by force of the state of California legislature and governor, raised tuition by 32% as my application was being turned in. And that scared me and my friends from applying. In my first month at UCSB, there was a protest for another tuition increase. And that ended up causing me to write my first paper in school on the master plan. I fought to pass Prop 30 because it meant my fellow students would have dropped out of school because of another tuition increase that was held as a gun to our head if we didn't pass it. And then at the end of my time at UCSB, I worked on a statewide campaign to get student governments to support a new master plan for California. Regardless of all this, whatever we decide what's in this new master plan, there's one constant and one clear action that needs to be taken, and that's fully funding the master plan. The master plan as we know it is a broken covenant to the people because the state abjected on its responsibility to fund it. Students of color left the UC system, not because the UC system didn't want them, because the state defunded the schools. Tuition as a policy is against students of color and low-income people. Tuition cannot exist anymore in the state. If we want a master plan to succeed, we need to fully fund it. And projects, ideas like the $66 fix, which I have 5 copies of right now, are a real, tangible path forward supported by students, faculty, and staff across the state, including the California Democratic Party. If we want to actually have a public higher education system that's tuition-free, of the highest quality, and for all, then we need to put our money where our mouths are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Next up, we have Fred Sanchez, followed by Amelia Martinez.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chair Berman and Assemblymember Medina, for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm Fred Sanchez, the Director of Public Affairs with the Campaign for College Opportunity. And at the campaign, we work to ensure all Californians have an equal opportunity to attend and succeed in college. This spring, the campaign published a report titled Left Out that you heard about today, and which found that while 70% of our college students come from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds, the opposite is true for the diversity of its leadership. Over 60% of college faculty and senior leadership at the UC, CSU, and community colleges are white, and 74% of the academic senate members are white across the systems. And despite 50% of college students being female, women are underrepresented among tenured faculty, academic senates, college leadership, and statewide governance. College leaders set the tone, values, and direction of their institutions, and when their leadership is not reflective of the diversity of the student population, student success suffers. When campuses are inclusive and reflective of the student population, the culture, practices, and policies align with the needs of those students. They experience a greater sense of belonging and have more role models who understand and validate their experiences. Our state and college leaders must go beyond an intellectual commitment to diversity that for too long has tolerated its absence. That's why today we urge the legislature to work with the governor to appoint UC regents, CSU trustees, and California Community College Board of Governors members that reflect the diversity of our state, These positions are critically important to setting the tone and direction of the institutions they serve. We also urge the legislature to require the UC, CSU, and California community colleges to submit a biannual analysis of leadership, faculty, and academic Senate diversity disaggregated by race, ethnicity, and gender. This includes defined goals for improvement, and it is only by looking at the data and setting goals that our verbal commitments to diversity are manifest. Thank you, and we look forward to working with you to ensure our colleges and universities have the leadership needed to serve our diverse student body.
Thank you, Fred. Next up, we have Amelia Martinez, and Amelia is one of hundreds of students that have been to the Capitol a couple of times now to advocate. So good to see you again, Amelia.
Good to see you too. So good afternoon. My name is Amelia. I am the Government Relations Director for Students here under ASUCR. And I also want to say thank you to everyone who sat on the panels and spoke, because I also learned a lot. I feel like sometimes as students, we don't always focus on faculty and staff, which we should more. And I'll admit we do a poor job of that. So this was great. I learned a lot. Moving forward, this has been said many times, but as a student, I want to remind everyone that we need to continue to form a diverse faculty and staff for all the reasons that you have heard here today. And another topic, the UC system needs to stop trying to find shortcuts when it comes to education. For example, did you know that on this very campus, there's entry-level math classes that are taught by second-year undergraduate students? That should not be happening. Why is the second year teaching a first-year entry-level math class? Our lecture is taught by a professor, but our lab, which for entry-level classes are sometimes up to 3 times a week, is taught by a second-year undergraduate students that sometimes when you speak to them, they've only taken 3 more classes or 2 more classes than the very students they're teaching. I appreciate every single student that does teach these classes because they work as TAs, and usually these entry-level classes are big, so they're teaching a lot of students and grading a lot of papers. Most of them are math majors, and a lot of them are usually very happy because they'll be working for the UC and getting paid $15 an hour, and as much as I appreciate them, they may not have the resources or the training that they need to be teaching other students. And why does the UC system do this? Because they can pay a student less than they should be then they should be paying someone that's trained and has the requirements for this. And you know, that's a little sad. And I think students deserve more than that. There's so many students here and families who do everything that they possibly can to be at UCR, and the fact that sometimes they're not giving us the level of education we deserve is disgraceful. And I think we need to do better than that. Something as simple as a lab can really impact your learning. As anyone knows, when you're in a lab or in a discussion, that's when you do most of the actual work, when you're in a smaller group and you can ask questions rather than you do in a lecture. So it's something that's very important, and it's a serious issue. So that's just something I wanted to bring up to everyone's attention. Before I leave, I also want to say that the financial aid office needs more funding. Every time I go in, I see about 5 people working, and they're great. They will try to answer the questions to the best of their ability. I've been there multiple times. I've been there with other students. I've been there with my parents. They try their best. Well, I personally cannot say I've had a bad experience. Although that should not be the case, it should not just be about 5 to 6 people working. We need more people at the financial aid office because, trust me, students have questions. We should also have a system at every single UC, Cal State, and community college where students can make appointments where you go to a closed office. I cannot speak for every single UC, but most UCs I've been to, the way it's set up, you stand in a line, there's a row in the front, and usually it's kind of quiet, everyone's on their phone, and you can hear what the financial aid advisors are telling those students. I have heard multiple times, well, you need to pick $600 in 48 hours, you will not be able to enroll. And this is very personal stuff that's being told in a room full of other people. That system needs to change. Every time I talk to a student that deserves to continue to be enrolled in this UC, I hear them say, well, I don't want to go ask a question because other people are going to be listening, and there's all this just kind of stigma sometimes around not being able to afford an education. So I think that's something that we need to do better at changing. It's little things like that and little considerations like that that really change students' experience here at UCR. Lastly, students, we want what's best for faculty and for staff. We are a community. We see each other every single day. I can tell you've had TAs who are amazing, who have made me feel welcome. Same goes for staff and faculty. So we should be advocating for each other, and we should be there listening to each other and hearing each other out. So we should have more events like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia. And next up, we have Alejandro Lomeli, who participated in our student hearing at Fresno City College a couple of months ago. So good to see you again, Alejandro.
Thank you.
Thanks for
you.
coming.
Yeah. So hello, everyone. Thank you to Assemblymember Berman, Assemblymember Medina, and other members of the Select Committee. My name is Alejandro Lomeli. I am a student at Long Beach City College with plans to transfer to Cal State Long Beach in the fall. So I've done some work across the state on some issues, and I know we all have some initiatives that we want to push forward, but I'd like to keep my comments today focused more on faculty and staff to keep them more. One of the issues that I've seen, or something that I just cannot get my mind over, is this issue that when we see a student or when we talk to a student that they have to attend 3 community colleges or more community colleges to reach their educational journey, we understand there's a problem. We understand that we need to do a bit more. We need to align our course scheduling. We need to offer more classes. We need to offer more adaptable sections for the student to be successful. But when we have those similar conversations with faculty and staff that they have to work at 3 different community colleges to be successful or to survive, it's just another norm. I have a professor right now who has to teach at 3 different community colleges, and I asked her, why are you teaching at 3 community colleges? And she said, it's not because I want to, it's because I have to. So I never really understood that, and I keep hearing in these multiple conversations that we're all here for students, and I keep hearing it over and over again. I really like to believe it, but we also have to understand that students cannot be successful if a system is not there to meet them, both inside and outside the classroom. Personally, it's disheartening to me to see my favorite professors that inspire me to do more and be better, struggling with themselves to support their own successes and their families. And I'm sorry today I don't have any answers for you all about how to move forward with those suggestions or some of those concerns that I have. But I hope these open up some conversations and open up the dialogue that we can have moving forward to include those meaningful discussions. And because we can do better and we must do better for our students and our faculty and staff that we support on a daily basis. I do want to end with a couple plugs. The first one is there was a comment made earlier today about this idea of having a student's educational journey mapped out from institution to institution. And as a transfer student right now going through the transfer process, I can't even apply to classes until the month before school starts. So I get all the leftover classes, so I'm going to really be fighting for that, and that's a key piece that we need to focus on as well. And faculty will be a huge part in those conversations. And then there was a comment made earlier about strengthening and improving the culture around shared governance. And as much as I appreciate the comment that was made earlier about including faculty, staff, administrators, in all those conversations, I do want us to remember that students are a valued partner, and we want to encourage that participation as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alejandro. Next up, we have Natalie Morales, followed by Alondra Luna.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natalie Morales. I am a student at UC Riverside, and I am part of the student government as a civic engagement committee director. And first of all, I just want to apologize for my tired appearance. I came back from a midterm. I'm really tired. But anyways, I just wanted to say thank you for all the panelists and everyone that's here, because I learned a lot, like Amelia did, from everyone's research and experiences. But I do want to point out a few topics that were discussed. One is about making faculty more diverse in race, ethnicity, LGBTQ, and religion, and everything like that is very important, because as a student, I need that role model to teach me those classes. Especially in those classes that we learn about these issues, we should have someone from that community teaching this So that's just an emphasis that I want to put. And also, I want to put an emphasis on temporary faculty. I think it's kind of ridiculous for faculty to be worrying about whether they're going to be rehired when I think they're great professors and I want to hear or take more classes with them. And also the restrictions or the worries they have. A lot of professors worry about giving too many A's. That shouldn't be a problem. I shouldn't be worrying about, am I going to make that category of having an A? If I deserve the A, I should get that A, not just because faculty believe that they won't get rehired if they give too many A's. That should not be a problem. And also, if there's such a large pool that could be permanent workers here, why, not that there's anything wrong with this, because there isn't. I believe that California is a state for opportunity. Most of the faculty members here are from out of states. I've had most of my professors from out of states, and I believe that we should hire our own California workers that are already temporary workers here. So just wanted to reiterate that. And also more faculty in terms of counselors. Just at UCR, their counseling faculty is 14. Out of those 14, 8 are licensed psychologists for the 23,000 student body. That's not enough at all. Yes, they have office hours, but it's very limited time. You can't have a restrained time when you're talking about certain psychological issues. I shouldn't be making an appointment like weeks after, like I'm struggling with mental health issues, to just discuss something that won't even matter in 2 weeks, you know? So I think more faculty is very important. So funding for these issues is extremely important to students like myself. And yeah, those are just some of the few points I wanted to mention. And just thank you for taking the time in hearing me and making this more accessible to students like myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Next up, we have Alondra Luna, followed by Kylie Sanchez.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alondra Luna, and I am a UCR student. So thank you, Chairman Berman and Assemblymember Medina, for listening to all of us and continuing to hold this hearing. I originally wasn't going to be speaking. I'm going to be honest with all of you, but I think it's important as a student of myself to emphasize a message that everybody's needs to be met. Regardless of demographics, regardless of age, regardless of gender, regardless of identity, we all need to be met. Personally, I know many students that go to the resources on campus and actually utilize the resources, and they don't feel comfortable connecting with staff because they don't know whether they're going to be here or not. We go to these counselors at the Kerr office and see them because you have mental health issues or whatever you're struggling at home, and you're not able to connect with them because the next time you go, you're going to be switched out because there's just a lack of understaff. And also, another fact is you enroll in these classes and you're always nervous whether you are going to be put in these classes. And once you are there are students sitting on the floor and there are students in the back just standing up, and there should be more seats available to everyone. And the way that the school is designed has worked in the past years, and UCR is a beautiful campus, and I know everyone works hard to make it a better campus every day, but as Assemblymember Medina stated in the last conference that we had like a week ago, today's the rainy day, and it's raining right now, and we need to be funded. And we need to be met, all of our students met, the staff, the faculty, everyone. And I think it's just important to emphasize that message. And unfortunately, I haven't endorsed a plan yet because I want to be more well-informed and educate myself since I am a first year. I'm still learning and gaining all these facts from everybody, but it's just important to emphasize the message that in Sacramento, our voices should be heard if we can't even make it out there. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone for your time.
Thank you, Alondra. So that'll conclude the public comment portion of the hearing. I want to mention anybody who wants to, feel free to reach out to my legislative director, Ellen Green, who's the point person for the select committee. If you send Ellen an email with your email address, she can add you to the list so you're kept in the loop as we progress. And we'd be happy to hear from you and discuss the work of the select committee. Also, just really want to thank everyone who attended and participated today. My colleagues, all of our panelists, UC Riverside, faculty, staff, and the public in the audience. Our fifth and final hearing this year will be held in Sacramento in August, and we'll discuss costs and funding. Please stay tuned and feel free to check the Select Committee's webpage on my Assembly website for more details, or reach out to my office. Mr. Medina, if you'd like to say any closing comments?
In closing, just to thank everyone who stayed to the very end, and a big thank you to our chair, Assemblymember Mcleod.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The hearing's adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Good job.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for encouraging.